click go live, had I? G'day guys, welcome to your English Aussie. We're going to go through today the usual good stuff on deadline stream. We'll talk through the press conference, availability updates, injuries, etc. We'll also go through tactical observations for the teams, and we'll look through some player analysis, the people that you want to buy, sell, and hold at the moment for this game week. And we will, of course, look through your guys' teams, talk through any questions that you might have, and we will also look at some chip strategy if you guys are interested in that later. So starting a bit early this week because I haven't been feeling too well. You can probably hear my voice is a bit funky. Can't pronounce words very well, but if you know me, you know that I can never pronounce words very well, so no problem there. And yeah, so we'll just crack into it. Let's start up with some of the press conference availability updates, and then if you guys want to post like team IDs or anything in the stream, chuck them in there. I can happily do a sort of review for your stream, and yeah, we can talk through your team's transfers, etc., who I think should be brought in, brought out, etc. Cool, so let's move on to press conference updates. So quite a lot of updates for the press conferences this week. Arteta and Gabriel trained and could be available. I think, as we've always discussed, you can never really tell whether he's going to be playing or not with Arteta. If you do have Gabriel on your team and there are not other like pressing issues, I just if you can make your defence without him, put him in your starting 11. And then if he's not playing, he's not playing, and you obviously he's a good asset to hold for future weeks. The fact that he had trained this week means that next week he will be available. So yeah, I'm expecting Gabriel, if not fit for this week, he will be back next week. So probably someone to hold in your team. Having said that, I did actually transfer him out this week. Was partially due to availability, but mostly due to the fact that with my defence I had Lewis suspended this week and then potentially Gabriel out, and I didn't want to have to play Fayers, Hall, and well, I didn't really want to have to play Fayers of Leicester, to be honest. Didn't really fancy anything Vardy, so I transferred Gabriel out for Timber this week. I think Timber's a really nice pick, so if you are looking for a defender, especially with Zinchenko, White, Tomiyasu all out, I think Timber is a really nice pick. He could end up playing left back again this week, given that Zinchenko's still out, and it wasn't the attacking threat wasn't as intriguing as it was when he was on Saka's side, because obviously Arsenal a lot more goes through Saka, but he did still get forwards, he did still get into some nice positions and create some chances. So hopefully it's just one of those things where he just needs to link up and get that understanding with Martinelli down the left or Trossard down the left, whoever's playing there, so he can work through that sort of link up with them, and continue to try and get into good positions for these attacking returns. Calafiori close to being back from Arteta, but not quite back yet. He did not train, so he won't be available for this week. It does look like that he's pretty close to getting back fit again. That will be a nice addition to Arsenal's squad. He will end up dropping in left back, bring Timber back over to the right with Saka. So again, boosts Timber as an option going forwards. Yeah, as mentioned, Zinchenko, White, Tomiyasu all still out, not available for Arsenal this week. I think Arsenal this week, and we can talk about it later in the sort of tactical observations section, it's a really nice game week for them against Everton. Everton play super direct style, not a lot of intricate technical ability passing. I think that Arsenal are going to have a lot of possession in the game, and I do think that makes the captaincy decision even more hard this week, because I think Saka as well is just a great option. I also think Odegaard could be really interesting for Arsenal this week in that middle role, trying to break down that Everton low block. He's been amazing at sort of working his way through that so far this season, and really been sort of the low block slayer for Arsenal. So that could be super interesting. On the Everton side, Michael Keane's fit, available, so good news for them. They've got him that can easily slot into that back line. Pep had sort of sadness in his eyes, I think, when he was giving his press conference. Stones, Ake, Kanji all still not fit. Lewis obviously suspended after getting those 2 yellow cards last week and getting sent off. And Foden and Kovacic available again, which of Kovacic obviously being back is a big plus for Pep. I think what that means for City is that Guardiola has a higher likelihood of playing in the centre-back role and not in sort of the higher advanced full-back positions that give him that potential for those attacking returns, which are so sort of tantalising for those City defenders. Unfortunately for Guardiola, and is like myself, it seems more likely that he is going to play in a centre-back position. Maybe they play Núñez at full-back, maybe they play wingers at full-backs and play a back three. There is a chance that they play Simpson Pussy at centre-back and then Guardiola out on the left. But I mean, you never know what Pep's going to do with his team and how he's going to set up. So it will be interesting to see how Man City decide to set up this week and what that's going to look like against Man United. Obviously a big game, so yeah. United have no fresh injury concerns on the other hand. On the other side of that, after their midweek game, Luke Shaw's still out, but rest of their players, a few bumps and bruises I'm sure from midweek, but seem to all be fit and firing. Liverpool, Konate still out, Bradley out, Tsimikas out, and also McAllister out, which is an interesting one that we'll go on to a little bit later. Alisson's back. He played midweek for Liverpool, had a really great game actually midweek. Alisson, the Liverpool defence was not as good as they have been, and they were heavily reliant on him making some great saves to get the win in the Champions League. Chiesa and Jota are back training, and they're very likely to be in the squad for the game, but they are very unlikely to be starting. I would say that they're not going to be starting. They're just not fit enough for a full match. Even if maybe Jota grabs the start, he'll be off after 50-60 minutes in that game. So again, for me, not options that I'd look to be going into from an FPL standpoint. Fulham have a bunch of injuries. Actually, Fulham I've got on the other page, but Anderson's out. Reece Nelson has been confirmed out for a long period of time. Unfortunately, he's been playing really well. Sort of got that spot from Adama Traore on the wing, but yeah, unfortunately injured for 10 weeks. Reeves out, and also Bassi is suspended, and Kearney is suspended after Bassi picking up a yellow card, and obviously Kearney sending off. So a lot of defenders missing for Fulham, and does that lead to Mo Salah, the main man, being an even more interesting option? As an interesting option as a captaincy shout, and we will go and we will talk about this after. I think obviously Mo has just been in incredible form this season, and yeah, with these news points as well, I think it only bolsters his appeal as a captain for this week. Down in Chelsea, Reece James and Fofana still out, and Pedro Neto also suspended. So likely that Madueke will be out on the right wing for Chelsea, I would imagine. People say, or rumours have been floating around that sort of almost means that it's a bit less good news for Parma, given that Madueke is a bit more selfish for Chelsea, and likes to go for goal himself. But I don't think that's really the case. I think if you've watched Parma over the more recent weeks, teams have sort of employed that man marking, or sort of tight marking on Parma that, for example, Partey did when Arsenal played Chelsea, and sort of nullified him a little bit in that game. Maresca's obviously seen this, and I think Maresca's an absolutely incredible coach because he notices all these small details. He's obviously seen this, and what he's done is he has spoken to Parma about doing the things that Pep would often get Lionel Messi to do at Barcelona, and that is drifting slightly wider to allow the other midfielders to drift into the space that he was previously occupying, making the midfielders that are man marking Parma get taken out to the wide spaces, and then your other midfielders occupying that Parma space and sort of overrunning opposition midfields by doing that. And I think that's been really clever, and yes, that has decreased the amount of sort of opportunities that Parma has been getting, but it has actually increased a lot. Like Chelsea's attacking play has been benefited by that. I think if you saw them play against Spurs the week before, Bissouma was almost the way that they played, where Caicedo inverted from right back into central midfield with Lavia, and then Enzo pushed on with Cole Palmer. Bissouma was almost left making a decision like, I've got two guys, I either go with Palmer or I go with Enzo. Most of the time he chose Palmer. That left Enzo just having a lot of space to be able to move into. And that's the great tactics that sort of Maresca's been showing over the last few game weeks. He's been super flexible with his team. He's had Caicedo inverting from right back, Gusto inverting from right back, Cucurella inverting from left back into like a 10 role, and the way that he's moved Palmer a little bit wider when players are man marking him and sort of opened up that space for other midfielders is one of the reasons that Enzo's been so successful in the last few game weeks. I mean, obviously that's not to minimise Palmer. He obviously still gets on the ball, still creates chances, but just slightly less than obviously he's been able to in the past. But yeah, I mean, still a good option, still a good pick. Just got to consider that the teams that do opt for that sort of man marking role on him do slightly reduce the effect that he has on the game. And I think in that Tottenham game, he was obviously his 2 goals for penalties, was actually slightly fortunate to get such a big return. But he actually played a fantastic game. He just wasn't on the end of those chances. It was other people that were on the end of them. So yeah, just that sort of bit of tactical chat on Chelsea. Always love to have a tactical chat on Chelsea. Other side of the puzzle was Brentford. Brentford just have, I think, Jensen not quite ready yet for this week. Otherwise, same injuries as previously. Again, Brentford like to adopt quite a fast-paced transition game, and that game against Chelsea again could see quite a few goals, very similar to the Spurs game, to be honest. Brentford have a super fluid attacking lineup. It's actually going to be super interesting, Thomas Frank v Maresca, the tactical side of that game, to see what the two managers come up with. To be honest, if they come up with something different, I could find that game very, very difficult to pick. But my guess would be both teams will score in the game. Southampton, Ramsdale's almost back, not quite ready for this week, but getting there. McCarthy is back for the Spurs game, so I expect that he will start in goal. but we'll see. Bednarek's also back, which is a big plus for Southampton, and Onuachu also back and available for them. On the other hand, for Spurs in that game, you've got Van de Ven, Romero, Davies all out. That's a real problem for them, to be honest, defensively, losing 3 players that really can all play in their centre back role. Even Davies has played in there frequently, and then Bissouma and Bentancur suspended still this week. So Spurs lacking a lot of important players. I do expect them to probably field quite an attacking team. I know Ange's the man for going forward, being positive and attacking. I think they really struggled midweek in the Europa League. Someone pulled me up the other day on I think saying that, I think I commented being like something about Tottenham and then said something about them playing in the Champions League. Someone sent me a message being like, Tottenham do not play in the Champions League. I think they I said sorry for that slip of the tongue. Everyone knows couldn't make it. Sonderix, why avoid Trent, and would you bench between Semenyo and Enzo? Why avoid Trent? Great question. And I've got a lot of thoughts on this. Ultimately, the way that the squad makeups are at the moment, and Trent being so expensive, that money is a lot more useful spent in the midfield or in the striker area. And Trent historically has obviously been great at generating attacking returns, sort of assists and that sort of stuff. But actually this season, although the statistics have him like quite inflated, we can even pop them up on the screen. I think the statistics have him as probably the #1 defender for assist potential. However, a lot of that sort of expected assists was from early in the season, when he provided some great chances for Jota, who missed a couple of chances, and then in the last game where he obviously got 2 assists. But outside of that, the system that Slot's adopted this year has actually been like the fullbacks to really maintain their shape, and Liverpool are defending much more as a team. You've actually seen Salah tracking back and defending a lot more. You heard, if you listen to Slot's press conference this week, he said about how we defend as a team. Mo Salah's been really great about dropping back in and helping defend, and that's also been seen in Trent not being able to get in those attacking and forward positions that he has previously got in previous years for Liverpool. And if we were looking like prior to his 20-minute cameo last week, where Liverpool were actually behind in the game, and he was brought on for 20 minutes to get into those positions and to go forwards, that's not going to be something that's frequently happening in Liverpool games. They're not going to be, really like bombing forwards in the last 20 minutes to sort of come back from behind. They're either might be 1 goal behind and work their way back into the game. Again, they're going to still stay tight and composed, or likely they're going to be level or ahead, and they're going to still maintain that sort of defensive solidity and defensive structure. Also, McAllister has been picking up more corners from Trent lately, so a lot of that expected assists from Trent is from corners, which he has been taking, but McAllister's been pulling them in, and although McAllister's actually out injured this week, so potentially Trent might get a few more. That is something to think about going forwards, that he's at some of the expected assists are just from him being on those corners, which are now sort of moving away from him as well. So for me, like, that money is much better off spent as somebody else. For me, I would be looking at like a Timber at Arsenal. I think he's a really nice shout. And if you do really want a Liverpool defender, I'd be going for Van Dijk at the moment. And if I'm honest, I would wait, and I would bring Canate in when he's when he comes back and gets fit. I think it's not crucial right now to put in a Liverpool defender in that back four. If I was going to go for one, I'd go for Alisson. So what expensive defender would I go to? I would say at the moment Timber, Gabriel Saliba would be my top ones. Timber probably number one just because he's got a little bit cheaper price at 5.6 and been really nice in that sort of fullback role for Arsenal. And also I do like, not this week, but perhaps for next week, Guardiola at Man City. I think I know Aston Villa next week, but then Everton, Leicester, and they've got a nice little run of fixtures. And him in that left back role for Man City gets in some super nice attacking positions. Because it's been really difficult this season to pick clean sheets. I think you want to be going for defenders with attacking potential, and I just see Trent not in that vein of form. You can see he's only got 3 assists this season, and 2 were in the last 20 minutes of the last game. So it's not like he's not been playing either. So yeah, for me, I think it's someone that everyone's been missing, and like if you tactically watch those Liverpool games, he's just not someone that I would want to bring into the team right now for those reasons, and also the price point as well. Rob Arishi, Haaland, Salah, Enzo, Palmer, or Jackson, Salah, Saka, Palmer? That is a good question. I do like City's fixtures coming up, and I sort of, and I think Haaland, is likely to go well over that period of time. However, I just think for the structure of teams and the way that you can spread your funds a bit better, and sort of utilise those funds better by not having Haaland, I would go for Jackson, Salah, Saka and Palmer. I think Saka's an awesome pick, and to go without Saka is going to be tough over the next few weeks. I think this game week against Everton, it's a good game week for them. Everton play like a low block. Him and Odegaard are going to be really good. Everton played also really direct styles. Arsenal are going to have a load of possession in that game and going to be keep knocking on that door, keep knocking on that door, keep knocking on that door. So I think he's definitely a nice pick to have in for this week. So for me, I'd go Jackson, Salah, Saka, and Palmer. Frederick, hey mate, welcome back to the channel. Good to see you again. Play Rodgers or Colwell. Chelsea this week, Brentford, don't they? And Rodgers v Nottingham Forest. Yeah, it's a tough one because Villa have frequently had hangovers after their Champions League midweek games and have come out a bit flat and dead. But I kind of can't see Chelsea Brentford game, not both teams scoring. I think I'd go Rodgers, just higher upside for me. Like if he grabs a goal or grabs an assist, higher upside. It's much more also it's just tougher sitting there watching that Chelsea game going, please don't score Brentford rather than please score Rodgers. I'd go play Rodgers. Isaac, Verbruggen out for Raya or Van Heck out for Saliba? Van Heck out for Saliba or Verbruggen out for Raya? I'd actually go. I'd keep Verbruggen, and I'd probably go Van Heck out for a Timber. I think Timber's a nicer pick to Saliba at the moment. Arsenal have obviously got Zinchenko missing. They've got Tomiyasu, Ben White missing. And Calafiori not quite back from injury yet. So Timber's going to be in the side for many, many game weeks going forwards. He's probably not going to miss many games at all. Jinxing it there. But yeah, I'd probably go Van Heck out for a Timber. If you've already got Timber and you're looking for another one, I'd probably go Van Heck out for Saliba. I think Verbruggen's a nice goalkeeper, and there was a really good YouTube video. I can't remember who did it, but they did it on the bonus point system and how it was changing, and why midfielders are picking up tons of points at the moment, and why the defenders and goalkeepers are picking up less. And Verbruggen had actually quite a nice baseline for bonus points, so if Brighton did manage to keep a clean sheet, it would be likely that he might actually pick up some points. I think Van Heck actually was reasonable on there as well, but I think if you're going to have one of the two, I'd probably say Verbruggen's more likely to get you the save points, and if Arsenal don't keep a clean sheet, Raya's probably not going to grab too many save points in those games. So yeah, I think Van Heck for Timber if you don't already have him. Otherwise, yeah, Van Heck for Saliba. It's fine. Yeah, guys, keep chucking your questions in the chat. I will keep answering them as I see them. I should be able to get to all of the questions, so just bear with me if I'm just a bit slow at picking them up. Yeah, so just carrying on with those press conference updates, just whip that back on screen. Villa, also Watkins, at the moment will have a late assessment on the knock he picked up. Minor injury, they said, but he hasn't trained yet this week. And also with Duran scoring that fantastic goal for Villa, I expect that if he does have a slight knock, that's a way that Emre's going to be like, all right, let's go Duran's starting role. So I expect it, even if Watkins is fit, he'll probably come off the bench this week. So if you do have Watkins in your team, he is a sell for me. I did actually sell Watkins for Isak this week, and I actually sold Gabriel for Timber as well. So those were my 2 transfers this week. Who are we? Aston Villa. Yeah, so Villa v Forest this week. Forest was... what did Nuno have to say? Forest. Nuno didn't have any... Yeah, they didn't have any fresh injury concerns, Forest, actually. The one thing to call out is Moreno is on loan from Villa, so he's ineligible to play against his parent club. But I would say Nottingham Forest, actually their fixtures start to turn like quite nice from Gameweek 18, 19-ish, I think. And that's sort of when Wolves' nice fixtures end. So that is somebody's some players that I'd be looking to get on. Isaac, Bruno out for Gordon. Thanks. Bruno out for Gordon. Look, I think that almost feels to me like you don't need to make that transfer. I think, yeah, Newcastle do have a good fixture run coming up. I think over the next, almost 6 weeks, they have, Leicester, Ipswich, Villa even, conceding a lot of goals, and Man United, Tottenham not bad, then Wolves, Bournemouth, Southampton, all nice fixtures for Newcastle going forwards. So I don't hate it, but again, like Man United over the next 3 weeks as well, like Man City have not been defending particularly well. They've got Ruben Diaz and then Guardiola, and then like no other centre backs available. Stones is out, Akanji's out, Ake's out. No fullbacks. Rico Lewis is out, and then Guardiola's going to either be at fullback or centre back, and then the other person's going to be missing. So, like, I can easily see United scoring in that game and Bruno getting some returns. He's obviously playing in that front 3 for Amorim. That Amorim's still trying to work out, who the best 3 is. But Bruno's going to be playing those minutes. So I think for me, I probably wouldn't make the transfer. I would probably just stick with Bruno for the next 3 weeks. Man City, Bournemouth, Wolves. It's quite nice. If he lets you down, you can move. But I think those next 3 game weeks are not terrible. And I feel like, yes, if you're looking to really attack the fixtures and you don't have any other transfers that you need to make, then fine, transfer Bruno out for Gordon. But for me at the moment, and also since that assistant manager chip has come out, I think if you can actually save those transfers, they are going to become more and more useful further down the line. So I've sort of changed my strategy a little bit from being really attacking with my transfers to now starting to look to accumulate some over the upcoming game weeks when I can, within reason obviously. But yeah, I think that's sort of a strategy thing. If you want to attack the upside for Newcastle, for Leicester, Ipswich fixtures, you can. But for me, I'd probably hold Bruno for the next couple of weeks. Just see how he goes. If he lets you down over those 3, then maybe make the move. We also might see some evolution of some other midfielders coming in and becoming good. Saku, bench 1, 8 Nuri, Kirkes, Van Dijk, Gabriel. 8 Nuri v Ipswich, Kirkes v West Ham. Ooh. Well, obviously there's the chance that Gabriel doesn't play in this sort of is irrelevant. But I'd start Van Dijk and Gabriel for sure, and then the discussions probably between Aït-Nouri and Kerkez. Wolves have been so shocking defensively and incapable of keeping a clean sheet versus Ipswich, who have just not been fantastic at all going forwards. Whereas Kerkez, I think, actually looked quite nice going up and down that wing. And I think also if we flick back to my defender analysis, he's someone that I'd be really looking at trying to have in, especially over the upcoming run for Bournemouth. For me it's probably bench Aït-Nouri. I know he does get into some nice attacking positions. Wolves have been really tinkering with their sort of setup lately. They've been playing 4 at the back, 5 at the back, or, 3/Aït-Nouri as a wing back, and they just haven't been able to work it out. I think this is probably one of the best chances they're going to have of keeping a clean sheet, but I think if they don't, probably just a little bit more bullish on Bournemouth. I like Kerkez as an option. Yeah, so I'd bench Aït-Nouri. That's going to be my pick. I don't like to sit on the fence, so I've got to make a call. Bournemouth are home as well, aren't they? Are they home to Ipswich? To West Ham? Sorry. Yeah, they're home to West Ham. Yeah, I think Bournemouth are quite nice at home. No worries, Shiku. I think I've seen you before on the channel as well, mate. So, if so, nice to see you back. Carrying on. Oh, Joseph Felix. Welbeck to Strand Larsen and Gvardiol to Timber for a -4. Ooh, -4. No, I wouldn't do that. Ooh, Welbeck to Strand Larsen and Gvardiol to Timber for a -4. Just leave Gvardiol in. Welbeck to Strand Larsen's a downgrade anyway, right? How much is Strand Larsen? 6.6, 5.7? 5.7. And Welbeck's 5.8. Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, I do sort of like Timber this week. I think that Arsenal will keep a clean sheet against Everton. I think Man City versus United is not nice, but I don't know if you want to move Gvardiol out of your team going forwards. I think he's also still quite a nice defender for the upcoming game weeks, especially if some of the City centre backs come back. Like Everton, Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, Ipswich. I can see City keeping a couple of clean sheets in that. I can see Gvardiol getting an attacking return in that. Welbeck out, understand. Not sure how fit he is at the moment, and whether they just were giving him a break for a couple of weeks. Whether he's going to be fully fit and starting in this Palace match, or whether he's going to come off the bench again. So I can understand that move. Not particularly big on Strand Larsen either, to be honest. I think if you look at Wolves' fixtures now, they're really coming to the end of their nice fixture run. From game week 18, they've got United, Tottenham, Forest, Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, Aston Villa, Liverpool for, how many weeks is that? That's 7 weeks of not easy fixtures. And 16, 17, Ipswich, Leicester, but you could easily find other sort of strikers that have nice fixtures over the next few as well. You could go to a João Pedro who's got Crystal Palace, West Ham over the next couple. I think I don't particularly love Welbeck to Strand Larsen either. I almost would say you can hold on to Welbeck if that's the case. I'd rather go Welbeck to a Chris Wood or Welbeck to a Wissa. If you're going to sell him, I actually think that Wissa, regardless of fixtures, is a really good pick at Brentford. His footballing IQ is insane. He always picks up great positions. Even last year with Tony around, he was always picking up late goals for Brentford just because his footballing IQ was so good. He gets into incredible positions. He's going to continue to score goals for Brentford. Brentford score goals for fun. I know they have some tough fixtures. I'd probably move to Chris Wood because I actually think Nottingham Forest fixtures are not that bad and they've got some nice ones coming up. So if you're going to move out of Welbeck and you got the money, then I'd go to Wood. If you then need the money for that, then maybe Gvardiol to Timber you'll have to do. but I wouldn't do that transfer for a -4. I just don't see the upside. Recommended sell defender, NJ official. What defenders you got? Well, I just like my recommendation is to sell Trent Alexander-Arnold, and I was talking about that earlier. I think like a very unpopular opinion, but like I said, not playing in the position at the moment. Not playing in the tactical setup from slot in a way where he's going to pick up the attacking returns that he needs to for a 7 million defender to be useful. Like that money can be far better spent in midfield, in attack, on other defenders, spreading across. If you are going to go for a Liverpool defender, I'd rather go for a Van Dijk. I actually see Van Dijk having equal sort of attacking potential as Trent. The reason that Trent has higher XA stats this year is one, because of early season, some of the big chances he created for Jota, which inflated his stats, and actually Jota missed a couple of them. They were like almost 1 XA. 2, because he's on corners for Liverpool, which McAllister has started to take off of him. I know McAllister's just like injured at the moment, so Trent will probably have him for the next couple of weeks. But that is something to consider going forwards if he's looking for long term. And 3, just positionally, he's not picking up those attacking positions that he used to under Klopp, that he is under Slot. Liverpool are really defending properly with their fullbacks and their wingers like Salah coming back and getting into that sort of defensive setup. And yeah, I mean, of the 3 assists he's got this year, 2 were in the last 20 minutes of the last game, where he basically got brought on because Liverpool were down a goal and they needed him to like get into those attacking positions and go forwards and try and peg a goal back for us. That's not going to be happening frequently for Liverpool. They're either going to be slowly trying to come back into the game, get back into the game in the middle of the game and then go on to win, or sort of, you know, ahead in the game, level in the game and still holding like that defensive solidity. They're not going to be going gung-ho that frequently, maybe in 1 or 2 games where they're down, but yeah, I don't think Trent's a good pick at all. I think I would definitely avoid him. Other sells, I mean, we can go and look at my sort of buy, sell, hold for players this week, and we can have a look at the defenders. I've got Trent as a sell, I've got Pedro Porro as a sell. And I think some of these holds for traders that are out there watching. Depending on your situation, could be sells. Like Lewis, for example, if you needed somebody who's definitely going to play this week, then yeah, okay, maybe you can sell him. Otherwise, at 4.7 mil in the Man City backline, once he comes back from suspension, he's going to be playing every week until people get fit. You know, just hold him in your team. Like if Man City are playing like if you look at their fixtures over the next few weeks, they've got, you know, Everton in 18, Leicester in 19, West Ham in 20, Brentford 21, and then Ipswich in 22. Like they're going to keep some clean sheets over that period of time, surely. Jinxing them, even if I do, that's all right. Yeah, and then the guys that I'm looking at on the left: Van Dijk, Saliba, Timber, Milenkovic, Hall. All some nice fixture runs. I'd also say some of the Fulham defenders, people that I'm going to start to look into over the next few weeks. Fulham have got also a really nice fixture run from 19 all the way through to like 28. They've got great defensive fixtures. I mean, really, they got Southampton in 17 as well, and then if you take out Chelsea in 18, they've got some nice fixtures, to be honest. Yeah, so I think that sort of defender, Wolves defenders as well, after the next 2 weeks, or really after 18 against United, even in 18 against United, that's when the sort of swing comes, and you can start to look, I think, from 19, Nottingham Forest defenders, Fulham defenders, even Liverpool defence. I mean, probably not at the same price point, but I'd say if you're on like an 8 Nuri, you'd be looking to move an 8 Nuri to like a Robinson from Fulham or Moreno, Einar, Milinkovic, Murillo from Nottingham Forest, and Newcastle as well. So Lewis Hall also as an option. So that's sort of what I'd be looking for around that time. And then the Brighton defence also comes into it from around 21. They've got a really nice run of like 8 fixtures: Ipswich United, Everton, Nottingham Forest, Chelsea, Southampton, Bournemouth, Fulham. That's pretty nice from a defensive standpoint. You can potentially Tariq Lamptey could be somebody that comes into the equation if he beds down that fullback role. Estepinian also looking really nice at Brighton. So there are definitely some Brighton options. It's just unfortunately at the moment they seem to be incapable of keeping a clean sheet. Sorry, someone's just pinging me. My aircon is super cold in this house. Yeah, it's because Sydney's mad hot this time of year, so I have to get it on. Yeah, so that's sort of my thoughts around defenders, defender sells, holds, etc. We can go to. Shall we finish off the press conference updates and then we'll come back? So just finishing off, we had on this page still, yeah, Leicester, Buonanotte unavailable, ineligible this week. For Newcastle, news on Callum Wilson, who's going to be out for 8 weeks with an injury. So for Isak owners, that's great news because Callum Wilson was starting to sort of pick up fitness again and looked like he could be an option where Isak would maybe come off after 70-80 minutes. Now he's sort of even more solidified in that Newcastle team. So I'm sort of quite thankful I've managed to get him in this week. Pope looks like he'll be out for this week. It wasn't 100% confirmed from Eddie Howe, but I think very likely that he will not be playing. Botman out, Willock's still out for Newcastle. So did we finish that page? Yeah. West Ham, obviously, Antonio, with his awful news about him and the car crash. And Emerson suspended. Lopetegui is just like Arteta, to be honest. He's just as annoying. He just doesn't give any information. He drives me mad, to be honest. Sorry to the West Ham fans out there, but I'm not sure you guys are that big fan of him either at the moment. So, his press conferences drive me mad, to be clear. He just never gives any information at all on players and their injuries. Brighton, Hertzler gave a bit of a... Hertzler's normally gives some great press conferences, really interesting. His update was a bit weird this week. He sort of was talking in percentages. He was like, Veltman's 50%, Hinshelwood's 40%, Kadioglu's 20%, Milner 10%. Basically, to me, that sounds like none of them are going to be available this week, in just a nice way of putting it. So we'll see. I think if you're under 50%, you're not going to be starting at this stage. So I think he's saying those are very unlikely, and maybe Veltman 50-50, you got a chance. Palace think no new concerns, and then Wolves got Gomez suspended and Sarr and Sarabia out. Sarabia being out as a penalty taker means that Cunha is more than likely going to be on penalties for Wolves this week, which could make him an even nicer option than he already was against Ipswich. That is the press conference updates. Only piece of other news we had to talk about was Lamina getting stripped of the captaincy. I thought that was, sort of almost had to happen. Unfortunately, after the scrap after the game. I have done my Gameweek 16 predictions this week. I know you guys always like to see what I've gone for. I know sometimes we like to do it on the stream together. But yeah, this week I had a bit of time. So I did just put it all together. And we can sort of talk through what I think of the games from a tactical perspective, and how I think they're going to pan out. Maybe we'll talk through these first, and then we'll talk also on tactical stuff at the same time. Just bear with me while I sort the screen out. Arsenal versus Everton. I've gone for Arsenal to score 2+ goals in that game. And I'm aware that I'm not showing the correct screen for you guys, so put that back on. I've gone for Arsenal to score 2+ goals in that game. I think the way that Everton set up, they set up in a super low block. That is going to just bring on pressure from Arsenal. They're also not one of the teams that like to play out from the back. They are a team that will sort of hit channels, play very direct, long balls from the defenders out wide. Even their centre backs sort of hit sort of cross-field channel balls for runners, for Calvert-Lewin, etc. I think that's going to be easily dealt with by the physical presence that Arsenal have in their team. And Arsenal do have very improved physicality across their team this year. I think you can see that they definitely have improved the spine down the middle of their team and have great physicality. They'll very much deal with those long balls from Everton, and then the pressure is just going to keep coming back on Everton. And I think Odegaard's going to be super key to breaking them down. I think Saka's going to be super key to breaking them down. I think those two could score some big points this week. And that is sort of a discussion, captaincy-wise, on Saka, Salah, Palmer, who to go for. Forest, Villa. I think Villa often come out after Champions League games, have a bit of a hangover, don't tend to play their best. Forest obviously being a little bit more defensively minded team. I can see this game being a bit squeaky bum almost. Not many goals being scored. Both teams not going to be committing loads of men forwards in attack. Forest obviously very defensively solid. Villa have been trying to play a lot of early balls through the lines. I don't think it's going to be effective. I think both teams really are their most effective in transition and on the break. Morgan Rogers carrying the ball for Aston Villa. Gibbs White, Hudson-Odoi's Forest carrying the ball for them. So I think 2 or less goals in that game is what I would put out there as my prediction for Forest v Villa. Liverpool v Fulham, quite a difficult one. Fulham have actually been really strong away from home this season. Been in pretty good form. However, they are missing Bassey and Anderson this week. That is gonna be a hole in their defence. Salah, almost putting Salah to return as a prediction feels like a bit of a cheat code. If you look at Salah for the 14 weeks of the season that Liverpool have played anyway, so far, he has literally returned in every single game week except for Nottingham Forest. Let me show you this on screen. It's absolutely ludicrous. For 14 weeks, he's got a goal, and Crystal Palace, sorry. He's got a goal or an assist in every game week except for Liverpool's one loss to Nottingham Forest, 1-0, and the 1-0 win against Crystal Palace, where he only played 72 minutes in that game. So every game he's played over 75 minutes, he's got a return, except for that 1-0 loss to Nottingham Forest, which is actually mental. He scored in 11 of the 14 games so far this season, and I was looking at these stats. This week when I was planning on my captaincy decision, and I did end up. If you look at, I'll show you my team. I couldn't not put the captain's armband on Salah. After looking at those stats, I couldn't do it. There was just no way that I was ever going to go for anybody else. Yeah. Anyway, getting back to our predictions. João Pedro against Crystal Palace. Now, I think Crystal Palace are improving greatly at the moment, but I do think João Pedro has been super important in that Brighton team and like really impactful. And I think when Danny Welbeck comes back, he almost slots into a position where he feels most comfortable in. I'm hoping that Welbeck comes back into that team for tonight for Brighton, because I think when they have a front four of Ruta, João Pedro, Welbeck and Mitoma, I mean whoever's on the right, irrelevant, they're so dangerous. Those four have a really great understanding together. Nothing against O'Reilly when he's come in there, but he sort of just lacked the sort of almost technical skills and also physical presence that they have there. Like he's a good runner and he's got good IQ and like nice finishing, but yeah, I just think these guys as a four work so much nicer together. Newcastle Leicester, although Rude's just been unflappable so far, gone for a Newcastle win. I think Newcastle are starting to hit a little bit of form at the moment. I think Isak's looking really good. They played fantastically against Liverpool the other week as well in that 3-3 draw. No one's taken it to Liverpool the way they have so well this season. I am expecting Newcastle to get a win in that game, and I am hoping for some Alexander Isak returns now he's moved into my team. Leicester are also missing Buonanotte, which I think is a big miss for them, because he is a real like dynamic force in their midfield and really does drive a lot of the play and bring the ball up nicely and help carry them through sort of presses and get them up the field. So I think that's a bit of a loss for them. United City, I think both teams to score for me is a nice sort of pick, because I think both teams are struggling defensively a little bit. Onana's obviously had a couple of nightmares in a row for United midweek against Victoria Pleasant and also last week in the league. But yeah, United just haven't quite worked out how to press as a team yet, how to defend as a team. Still leaving some gaps in between the lines when they press. Obviously have some work to do with their wing backs. Just sort of learning positionally where to be. Saad Malik, what do you think of 2-week punt on Harvey Barnes going against his whole club? I just have this gut feeling. Do you know what, mate? Harvey Barnes is someone that just every time I see him score, I'm like, I really like him in my team. I almost don't think, like, do you think that Harvey Barnes is going to play the minutes that you need him to be successful? Like, for me, I actually think Harvey Barnes, if he was starting for Newcastle every week, is definitely someone that I'd be looking at getting in the team. But his minutes are just so inconsistent for Newcastle that I'm just never sure whether he's going to start or not. Otherwise, I love him as a pick. So if you're wanting to go for a punt, mate, I think he's a good pick. Like, if that's the risk that you want to take, I think Harvey Barnes is good. And not just 2 weeks. I think Newcastle have got really nice fixtures. Even after that, Villa have been conceding a lot of goals. United a little bit leaky defensively. Spurs leaky defensively. Wolves can't defend for love nor money. Bournemouth leaky defensively. Southampton will give you a goal, and Fulham in 24. So, I mean, really, like the next 8 game weeks for Fulham are almost an 8 game week punt. I think if you've got coverage in your team, yeah, Harvey Barnes is a nice pick, man. And I'll show you the like statistical analysis for midfielders. He's also like well up there. If I show the midfield stuff, Harvey Barnes is like top 10, I think. Savio, Madueke, Saka, Jota. Yeah, Harvey Barnes up there. 0.61 non-expected goals and assists, non-penalty expected goals and assists per 90. Like that's an awesome stat. It's just, if you just look at this, he's matches played. Yeah, he's played 15 matches, started 6 minutes, 698. So he's basically played an equivalent of 7.8 out of the 15 matches. But he still managed to score 5 goals and 1 assist. So he's been continuously returning. yeah, just if he beds down a starting spot for Newcastle, which after scoring last week, I mean, why would he not start against Leicester? So, yeah, mate, I think 2-week punt, go for it. Go for it. Why not? Why not? As long as you've got sort of coverage in your team, I like it. I'm just a risk averse guy. Sorry. So carrying on, we were chatting Chelsea Brentford. I've also gone both teams to score, similar to Man United City. Well, actually, sort of opposite to Man United City. I think like both teams have defensive issues in that Man United Man City game. Whereas Chelsea Brentford, I think both teams are just really good offensively. And I also think both managers are tactically fantastic at adapting, at changing their tactics, at giving a different fluidity to the attack that you see there anywhere else. Maresca and the way that he inverts his fullbacks, the way that he defends with certain positioning. His minutes just put you off at the moment. I'm top 20k at the moment, so maybe we risk it then. Top 20k. Yeah, good stuff, mate. So maybe we risk it. Yeah, I actually think like if you're top 20k and you're going well, you've probably got a nice sort of team. I think it's not a bad shout at all, mate. I think you could easily gain a lot of rank from Harvey Barnes as a punt if he comes off, and Leicester and Ipswich over the next two, Newcastle have got a good shot at scoring quite a few goals in those games. So yeah, good luck. Hope it works out for you. I'll be supporting Harvey Barnes now this week, and you can let me know next week if he's gained you some rank. A few of the other games, Southampton Spurs. So interestingly for this, I fancied a draw. I actually like. If Southampton don't chuck the ball away and give Spurs goals, I think Spurs are going to have a horrendous time trying to break them down. I think Southampton are actually like defensively, when they're defending and not trying to pass the ball past you, they're a really difficult team to break down. And Spurs are horrific at breaking low block teams down. Spurs need to play with Kulusevski on the right, Son on the left, Maddison in AMC. And then likely two like Sarr and Basuma behind them. Obviously Basuma's not there this week, so I'm not sure who would get in that sort of slot. But yeah, I would imagine what ends up happening is Sarr plays defensive midfield and they play Maddison and Kulusevski attacking midfield with Brennan Johnson on the right. I think Brennan Johnson's creatively awful. Like, he doesn't create anything whatsoever. And it is shown actually, if you look at the sort of statistics, you can look at his sort of expected goals and assists. You can see he's in red here. His expected goals, non-penalty goals and assists is 0.59 and his expected goals is 0.53, which means his assist is 0.06. And that's just because he just doesn't create anything. Like, he gets into awful positions. The only reason he scores goals is when Tottenham are on the counter and he sort of like comes in late at the back post and scores. He's been really lucky to score 6 goals this season. And I did have him in my team briefly. But as soon as I had him in my team, he actually got a couple of returns for me. And I was thinking those were really lucky. And I just whipped him straight out again. So for me, like, Brennan Johnson is actually a definite sell for me. I just think Tottenham against teams that have a low block, just like Southampton, going to really struggle to break them down. He's not somebody that's going to profit off that. It's actually like when Kulusevski plays on the wing for Tottenham, and with Son, they have that dual threat on the two wings, where they're actually at their most dangerous when those two are playing on the wings together, Son and Kulusevski. They just create a lot less when Kule's in the middle. Ferrari, welcome back to the channel, mate. I think I've seen you before. My team is Verbruggen, Fabianski, Greaves, Vandenberg, Saliba, Timber, Gabriel, Bruno, Bowen, Salah, Palmer, Rogers, Isak, Cunha, JP. What do you reckon I should be looking to do in the future? Do you have your team ID, mate? If you have your team ID, pop it in chat. I'll chuck your team up on the screen, and we can have a little look. I can see your. Then I can put it into like FPL Gameweek. I can see all the free transfers that you've got, and it just makes it a little bit easier for me to go through it. 698406. Alright, give me a sec, and I'll chuck it up on the screen. 698406. Yeah, if any of the rest of you like want me to have a look at your teams as well, just give me a shout and I'll put it in. I've done Lewis to Saliba this week though, chasing team value, and got him in at 6 mil. Yeah, nice, good job. I also I actually got Timber in this week as well to try and get him in before he moved. So you had. So no more transfers currently, but you've got so Lewis is Timber, Lewis is Saliba. So you probably got about 0.4, 0.5 in the bank. Golden Bessie, I'll do you afterwards, mate. Yeah, so I think like front line looking decent. I think Cunha's somebody that after the next 2 game weeks, Wolves have got a really tough run, and potentially somebody that you might want to be looking at moving. If you are looking at moving out of Cunha, for example, I'd say the people that I'd be looking at is potentially like Chris Wood, as Nottingham Forest get back to some nice games from like 19 for a few game weeks. You already have JP. I'd say Chris Wood would be nice to look into at moving Cunha to. You also save a little bit of money there. Then perhaps you sort of have that money that if Fernandez also over the next 3 weeks doesn't quite go fantastic, you might be able to upgrade him to a Saka. I think Saka's just so good at the moment, and if you don't quite have the money for Saka, I would actually say that maybe just watch over the next couple of weeks how he does. But I think if Odegaard starts picking up some form for Arsenal, he might become an option. Other than that, Timber I like. Gabriel. So you got triple Arsenal now. Wow, that's mad. Triple Arsenal defence, and then Vandenberg and Greaves. Yeah, I guess the only other thing I would say, and it's going to be hard because if you got triple Arsenal, you're probably going to be playing them all every week. Is maybe just look to upgrade one of your 4 mil defenders to a 4.5, maybe like a Lewis Hall, a Kirkes, or I think Lewis Hall, Kirkes, or one of the Nottingham Forest defenders. Like those are the guys that I think have good fixtures coming up. Think about Cunha down to a Wood, and then maybe think about moving either Fernandez or Bowen up to a Saka if you can. Maybe just have a think about how your money works with that. I can't quite work out how much you'll have after Lewis to Saliba. But yeah, I mean, nice team. If Arsenal defence go well, you're going to be living the dream. Hopefully that answers your question. If you still have questions, just chuck them in the chat. I'll come back to you. Golden Bessie 134876. Let's do ya. Luke 0.2 in the bank. 1 save transfer. Martinez, Pedro Porro, Timber 8, Nuri, Palmer, Matoma, Bruno. Oh, you got Haaland in your team. Wow. Okay. So I'm assuming by you having Haaland in your team is you want Haaland in your team. So I'm not going to recommend that you take him out of your team. I think Man City obviously have like that nice sort of 5-week fixture period between 18 to 22. Everton, Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, Ipswich. Oh, you've done Bruno and Haaland out for Salah and Isa. Alright, nice. Okay, you're giving up on Haaland like many people. Yeah, fair enough, man. That probably would have been my advice to get him out. But yeah, I didn't want to, if that was your plan to keep him, then I didn't want to give you that sort of change of heart. Yeah, okay, cool. So, Salah and Isak in there for Bruno. Bruno's Evan Nielsen and Wissa up top. I actually like that. I think Wissa's almost fixture proof for Brentford. Please don't bench him. I just saw you benched him last week. Don't bench him. Put him in every week. He's going to score goals. Mario's nice. Nottingham Forest fixtures are getting good. Robinson's nice. Fulham fixtures are going to get good. I'd say Pedro Porro and Ait Nouri are probably where you want to be looking at moving out of them. Ait Nouri in a couple of game weeks' time. My advice is probably Lewis Hall, because I actually like Robinson and Murillo. You already got one of each. Maybe Newcastle as well would be quite nice. If you'd, I think maybe even better than that, you could bring a Pedro Porro down to like a Lewis Hall. That saves you 1 mil. That gives you the chance of potentially upgrading a Mitoma. Not sure how much money you have in the bank there. Prepared for bench boost in mind. Prepared for bench boost in mind. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I guess, your team definitely works for a bench boost. I would say, and I did a video on this, you can maybe have a look at it. I did a chip strategy video where I talked about what I thought the best weeks for all the chips were. And I do like using that bench boost in a double game week, because you can get 11 extra fixtures. 1.6 mil in the bank. Yeah, I was trying to think if you could get Mitoma up to Saka, because that's probably where I'd want to go. But if you can't quite get him up to Saka, I think what I'd look at is Ait Nouri or Pedro Porro in your defence, moving to a Lewis Hall. I think that would be nice. Probably Pedro Porro for me. I think Ait Nouri's still got a couple of nice game weeks. I think Pedro Porro's not got the nicest, he's not picked up great positions on that right flank with Brennan Johnson. I think they really don't work well together. He looks a lot better off when Kulusevski's playing on the right, and I think Spurs look a lot better off when Kulusevski's playing on the right wing. But yeah, Pedro Porro is a bit of a troll. I had him in my team for a couple of game weeks, benched him against Man City, scored 14 points, and I was like, I've had enough of you. See you later. Yeah, so I think I actually like your team. I think you got a lot going for it. There's not really a lot of holes in that team going forwards. And if you are looking to do a bench boost, your funds are nicely spread across everybody. The only thing I would consider is potentially saving your bench boost for game week 36, which is the big double. Wildcard 35, bench boost 36, and then looking to maybe take some of the funds out of your team. You could even go Pedro Porro down to a 4 mil defender, use that 1.5 mil plus your 1.6 in the bank, that's 3.1. You're pretty close to getting Mitoma up to a Saka at that stage, and then maybe you can just do one other transfer where you save a little bit of money. Game week 36 confirmed double game week, is it? So game week 36 will almost certainly be a double game week. In that game week, basically what happens is in game week 34, the FA Cup semi-finals take place. So obviously 4 teams will be playing in that. If any of them are Premier League teams, they'll be blanking in 34, and really the only week that they'll probably be able to play, especially if it's the big teams, will be in game week 36. So it's pretty likely that 36 will be a double. And I'll show you just quickly on my screen, but you should watch my video on this where I go through it in a lot of detail. These are sort of the blank double game weeks that are likely to come up. So that Liverpool-Everton match that's postponed could be played in 19. And the way it works is just based off whether there are midweek availability for the teams, and when you look at the schedule over the year, there's so few midweek games available for a Liverpool that are in all these competitions. So 19 they do have free, but it's pretty close. It's hard to organise that quickly, and with the fixture congestion over Christmas, they might not do it there. Then after that, the next available sort of midweek game weeks for Liverpool is 20 or 24 if they lose to Southampton in the EFL quarterfinals. Probably not going to happen. So it's likely that it will be game week 25, which will be that double, which if you haven't used a triple captainship would be a nice one to use on Salah. Because I think that's Everton and then Wolves also Liverpool have in 25. And so then the other blanks and doubles is 29 is the EFL Cup final, so it will be 2 Premier League teams. Those are the teams in there: Arsenal, Palace, Southampton, Liverpool, Newcastle, Brentford, Tottenham, United that are still in it. And then that will basically, the fixtures that were postponed in that will probably be played in 33, because that's where the team, like especially most of the big teams, unless it's like Southampton v Crystal Palace in the final, it will probably be played in 33. There's a lot of the big teams have like European stuff, FA Cup matches, etc., etc. So that will be like a small, where maybe 2 teams will double, and then the big blank is the FA Cup semi-finals, 4 fixtures. So I've done this sort of chip strategy video where I go through and I talk about what I think the best weeks are to play all of the chips. So yeah, check it out on my channel. And this is what I was talking about: bench boost and wildcard in 35 and 36. Yeah, so hopefully that helps, Luke, mate. But I think you got a nice team. You're nicely set up. If you do want to go for your bench boost when in like next soon, then like your team's nicely set up for it. Yeah, like I said, my tips are probably if you're not going to do that, try and take some money out and work towards Saka in the midfield for Mitoma. I'd definitely look to downgrade Pedro Porro. Cool. I totally forgot what I was talking about and where we were. I think I talked about Southampton Spurs being a draw, Spurs not being able to break them down. Yeah, then other like final ones I think I haven't gone through are Wolves Ipswich. I sort of found a bit difficult to call. I went for Ipswich to get a result. I don't think that's like I think like you could consider that slightly outlandish, really. Like they've been very poor this year, but Wolves have also been poor. I just think like Ipswich looked really poor against Crystal Palace in a game where I thought they needed to come out and try and win, and they just didn't create a lot at all. I think they need to have a different approach against Wolves in this game, and they've got to try and come out and get a win, if not at least a draw from this game. So I don't think they can be defensive in this game and not look to win. These are the sort of bottom of the table clashes where if you want to stay up, you got to win these. These are big 6-pointers for these teams. So I'm expecting Ipswich to get a result in this game, because I think Wolves' defence has just been so leaky. They've got to surely be able to score. And Ipswich defensively have not been terrible. Yeah, not terrible. Then finally, Bournemouth, West Ham. Look, I think Bournemouth definitely going to score. West Ham, as I've been saying all season, awful in transition, very slow midfield, slow defence. Just don't get back when they give the ball away. Really, really struggle in transition, whereas Bournemouth are a fantastic transition team. Like that's where they play, that's where they're at their best in transition. So yeah, I think Bournemouth likely to score, and just think like Jared Bowen's been looking nice the last couple of weeks. Kudus is back now in that West Ham team. Fulkrug might even be available to start up top for them now. Bournemouth have also conceded goals, so I'm gonna go for West Ham to score with bated breath. But yeah, that's what my predictions are for this game week. And I could also show you my own sort of plans for my team for this game week. I've got to put on the screen first. So this is my team. This was game week 15 for me. It was a good week, 66 points. When Jared Bowen as captain, over Cole Palmer. Obviously, ultimately the wrong decision, but could have easily gone for somebody else, like a Saka, which would have been a nightmare. But yeah, obviously did the goods for me. Cole Palmer did the goods. Chris Wood up front still bossing it. Made my way up to 198,000th in the world. Like I've had some like amazing rank like numbers this season. I just felt like 198,000 was so clean. A few weeks ago I was like 888, 898 or something like that, which is like someone was telling me it's a super lucky number. And since then I've just been just flying onwards. And I think like realistically, like at the beginning of the season, like the first couple of game weeks, if you don't get the team right in that first week, which there is a medium element of luck in getting that team right in the first week, obviously some research as well, but is a bit of luck as well. If you don't get that team right in the first week, you really need to sort of recover. I have to think you have 87 more points than me on rank 2 minutes. Yeah, and actually, like that's the thing. Like the ranks are super close together at the moment. And like I'll show you guys on Gameweek, and I think we were just looking at your team, Luke, as well. Sorry, I'm going to pull you back up as well because I've got you here, and you can actually see like if you were to compare yourself to like, top 1 mil, for example, and you see on the left hand side here the ranks, like you're only 37 points off 1 mil, 44 off 800k, and like between 1 mil and like 200k, there's like 50 points in that. So consistency is really important, and like you can bridge those gaps very easily with some good game weeks, some good planning, and for me, like that's been the way that it's been going this season. Like my team obviously like I didn't quite have it 100% right at the beginning of the season, but like I've made really good like tactical decisions throughout the season. I think a lot of that's due to like the tactical analysis that I've been doing and showing you guys, like these team observations that we've been going through each week tactically on the teams, like how teams set up. I think that's really helped me go through the ranks. That's not a lot of things. I feel like a lot of people that do these videos on FPL, like they are in the statistics, and statistics are useful. And like I obviously show the statistical analysis as well, but like the tactical observations are how you really can dive a little bit deeper into the teams and how we can pick the sort of gems and find the players that slightly overhyped with the statistics. Like, and Trent's an example of that for me, of like someone that I just think is a bad pick, and I would sell him if I had him in my team now. I would genuinely sell him. I would sell him for my team. So, and that's just all about watching the games and looking at the tactical makeup. Like obviously, like I played football as well when I was younger. Like I played in defence, so for me, like defenders and knowing positionally and spatially where they should be is like a lot easier to see. But yeah, I mean, honestly, guys, just try and stay consistent. Try and make good decisions. Don't panic. Don't try and like go chasing points, doing too many crazy differentials. Like you can gain rank slowly but surely, just making good decisions. And going through and working it through in the weeks coming up. There's very few points between ranks, and you can easily go, like this week I could easily go from 190k to like 500k, and it could easily just be like pick the wrong captain, which is a bit frustrating, but yeah, I think captaincy at the moment is super important this year. It's made a lot of big swings if you've got captaincy right at different times. So yeah, I mean, I guess we can talk about that a little bit as well. I'll talk briefly about my team, what I'm looking at doing this week. So yeah, obviously last week 66 points. Watkins, a guy that I looked to move on. Lewis obviously getting suspended as well, and then Gabriel just for me, the unsurety about whether he was going to play or not this week, and obviously still the unsurety when I had Lewis suspended and like Faze as my only other defender. I didn't really want to have to play a team with Guardia, Hall and Faze, so this week my team is looking like this, and the captaincy armband is not on Saka, which maybe I will quickly edit to not confuse anybody. The captaincy is on the main man. I have flip-flapped a little bit this week with who my captain was going to be. Honestly, I've gone from Saka to Palmer to Salah, and I found it really tough to make up my mind. The reason why I have eventually gone with Mo Salah as captain and Saka as my vice. Flexo, hey mate, how you going? Oh yeah, just talking about captaincy, perfect timing to join. Yeah, so I've gone for Salah, and one of the reasons for it is that Fulham have Bassey and Anderson out this week, like two of their centre backs, so are lacking a little bit at the back. Liverpool at home. I know Fulham have been good away, but Liverpool at home, and then I just honestly couldn't look past looking at Mo Salah's run this season, and I will just show you guys because it's absolutely mental. Game week 1 to 14, he scored in 11 of 14 game weeks. Like, he scored in 11 of 14 game weeks, and he's got an assist in one of the other 3. So there's been 12 of 14 that he's returned. And in a week where I'm not sure, like, I think all of them are nice options, and I think all of them could score points. I couldn't go past Mo after looking at that. And just from a tactical perspective, we can talk about it. I think Palmer against Brentford, look, really nice fixture for Chelsea against Brentford and for goals. I'm not sure how Thomas Frank will set up against Palmer, but if you've noticed, like, the last few weeks, Anisan, I'll get to you as well, also your question. Just give me a sec to talk to you this captaincy bit. So if you've seen the last few weeks, tactically, the way teams have set up against Chelsea, they've actually, like, for periods of the game, man-marked Palmer. And the way that Maresca has tactically managed that is he's told Palmer to drift slightly wider. He's told the other midfielders to move into that space that Palmer occupies. It's something similar to what Pep used to do with Messi when teams would try and man-mark him, is he would shift him away from where they're trying to play the ball, allow their other midfielders to sort of double into that space and overload the teams. And that's why Enzo's been performing so well lately, is like Caicedo has been inverting from right back into that defensive midfield with Lavia. Enzo's moved from defensive midfield to the attacking midfield where Palmer was. Palmer's drifted a little bit wider, and then they've got that extra man there where when that midfielder is man-marking Palmer, Enzo's then in the space. And that's what happened with Bissouma last week at Tottenham, is he was like, crap, I've got 2 guys, chose to go with Palmer. Enzo had a bunch of space and was able to move and drive into that. And like Palmer's 2 goals obviously came from penalties. Yeah, he got 18 points, but actually, like, he wasn't the guy getting into those final positions for Chelsea. So that was something that I was bearing in mind, but I'm not sure Thomas Frank will adopt that approach of man-marking Palmer. And I think, like, Brentford are quite a transition-based team, as Chelsea are also quite good in transition, and I see him being able to get in those spaces and in those pockets. So it's a hard one for me because I don't know what tactics Thomas Frank's gonna go for. I think it would be a smart option to try and nullify Palmer a little bit and to have an extra man in the midfield there. And if they do that, then I think Palmer's not as good an option as captain. So that's why I like Thomas Frank. I think he's a good manager. I think he might make Palmer have a little bit more trouble. Then I was thinking about Saka, and I think he's going to have a great game against Everton. I think, as I was saying, like, Everton play a really direct style of football. They don't have, like, short passes. They're not a possession-based team. They don't have these sort of intricate passes. They play quite direct, long ball style into the channels, etc. And Arsenal have a really solid defensive spine. Salah and Saka first match, I know. It's going to be horrible watching if you get it wrong. But yeah, they have, like, a sort of... Arsenal have a really solid, like, physical spine this season. And I think the ball's just going to keep coming back at Everton. And Saka and Odegaard are fantastic at slaying low blocks, which Everton are going to be under pressure time and time again this week. So I think Saka's, like, to me, really close to Salah. And honestly, in my head, like I'm very difficult to choose between them. I just basically ended up making the decision is I looked at Saka's returns and I looked at Salah's returns like over the course of the season, and there were just a bunch more games in which Saka blanked in than Salah, and I just went, well, if they both return, at least I'm getting something from Salah, even if it's slightly less than Saka. I think if you're a slightly riskier manager than me, I would go Saka, but I'm sort of playing it a little bit safe. I think captaincy's had 2 big swings this season. I felt like Salah was a bit of a safer option. I also felt with Fulham having some defenders out that it made that fixture a little bit better for Liverpool. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how that goes. Anis, Bruno and JP to Ahmad plus Isak. Other forwards, Cunha and Jackson. Bench for Rodgers. Are you saying you are benching Ahmad or you're benching Rodgers? Bruno and JP to Ahmad and Isak. Yeah, I mean, you don't need to do that. If I'm honest, like, you don't need to make that transfers. Like, João Pedro against Crystal Palace is a nice game. Bruno is nice. Benching Ahmad for Rodgers. Okay. Feels luxury to me, but look, I think Isak is where you're going here, right? Like, Isak's obviously a really nice pick. He's sort of locked in that Newcastle team now going forwards, assuming he can stay fit. Leicester and Ipswich being amazing games. Callum Wilson's obviously picked up that injury, which means that Isak's going to be starting over this really nice Newcastle fixture run. So yeah, look, I like it. If you are not happy with Bruno, if you're not happy with the fact that JP's been blanking the last couple of weeks, then I think that's fine. I would also consider maybe Enzo over Ahmad, but yeah, I think United have got, who have United got? City, Bournemouth, Wolves. Decent. Chelsea, Brentford, Everton. Yeah, I think, like, have a think about whether you want Ahmad or Enzo. I think both could be good options. But yeah, I don't mind that. Thanks. What do you think of triple Chelsea attack? Enzo, Palmer, Jackson. Oh yeah, true. If you've got Palmer and Jackson, yeah, I'd go Ahmad. I wouldn't go triple Chelsea. I just think, like, you want to be able to spread the risk in your team. Like, if Chelsea have one bad game week, you get 3 blanks. Like, I wouldn't go for triple Chelsea attack. So yeah, if you've got Palmer and Jackson, I would do that. But I've got to be honest, like, if you could even wait on that Isak, you probably want to target Isak over the next couple of weeks. That's probably why. Yeah, I think that move's fine. I would go Ahmad and Isak then over at Enzo. Isaac, 7.9 mil midfielder. Very precise. Very precise. Depends how long term you're looking. I'd say Anthony Gordon's around 7.2, 7.3. Newcastle, nice fixture run. If you don't have Isak, that's quite nice. Only reason why I go Ahmad over Enzo because I already have Colwell, Jackson, Palmer. Yeah, no, I wouldn't go triple Chelsea anyway. I would go Ahmad over Enzo if you have Jackson and Palmer. No, don't go triple Chelsea. Definitely don't go Trent as well. Please. Anyone listening to this stream, do not buy Trent. Sell him. Sell Trent from your team. Sorry, 7.9 midfield, Isaac Garcia. Yeah, so I think if you don't have Isaac, then Anthony Gordon at 7.2 is quite nice. Another option at that sort of price point, you'd be looking maybe 7 mil. Depends how long term you want to go. Like, you could go Jared Bowen for like a 3-week sort of punt. Bournemouth, Brighton, Southampton, but then they run into Liverpool, Man City. Yeah, Yeah, I mean those are sort of that sort of price point where you're looking. Then your other option is actually, if you don't have a Saka in your team, is looking at like a, and this is something I've been looking at recently to see whether I think it's worth it, is looking at like a Martinelli or a Trossard. Like I think both of them are decent. Yeah, if you want to hold off your 2 free transfers, Alex, I think like it makes a lot. If you're not super keen on Isak this week specifically, I would hold them because I would then recommend you keep JP and you move Cunha out in after his 2 nice game weeks. Like I think Wolves fixtures turn from 18 really horrible for like 8 weeks. So I'd move Cunha out in 18 or 19, and then I'd move into like I don't know, like a Chris Wood or an Isak there, and then like move out of your midfield. And that's like that's actually a much nicer time to go into. Is to come out of your forward line, because I think like actually like JP and Cunha both have some nice fixtures. The only reason I would transfer one of them out right now, and I think you're right, I'd probably go with JP because those 2 fixtures for Cunha are just so nice. Is if I really wanted Isak in my team. So I think that's your decision. If you really want Isak in for Leicester Ipswich, then do. Otherwise, yeah, hold off until 18. Flexo, Isak captain. No, I don't think so. I just wouldn't go for a forward captain at the moment, just because I feel like the extra point for a goal for midfielders is important. The extra point for a clean sheet for midfielders is important. And like the Salah, Palmer and Saka, those 3 have also been generally, if one of them scores, they get the 3 bonus points. There is a chance with like a Newcastle that maybe like they share the points across players. Isak might not have as nice a baseline as like Saka, Salah and Palmer do, because they're like way more involved in a lot of the play. Isak's more sort of like the end product. So yeah, I wouldn't go for him as a captain, even though it's a nice game and I'd love to have him like it's nice having him in the team. Not captain for me, Flexo. Semenyo alternative, Ahmad, or is Man United hard to watch? If you play with some consistency, seems to be Ahmad. Do you feel the same way? Ow. Ow. Could be my brother. If it is, mate, just text me. No, actually, no, thanks. Comment on the stream helped. Semenyo alternative. Plenty of alternatives, I think, at the moment around that price point. You've obviously got a Rodgers. You've got a not this week, but Born and Arte. He's ineligible this week. You have Enzo at Chelsea, which we were just talking about, and you have Smith Rowe at Fulham, who not quite yet, but next week he has Southampton, and from 19 they have some really nice fixtures. And the other guy is also in the Bournemouth team, which is Cliver, who's on pens for Bournemouth. So for me, he's actually also like quite a nice Semenyo replacement if you're fed up with Semenyo. I would say all of those guys, for me, are all reasonable. They'd be someone that I'll get to the Trent question later, Alice. I've explained it a few times. Yeah, Ahmad also like obviously is an option. Yeah, Man United are less hard to watch under Amarin. I've given Man United some crap on this stream many times before, many weeks past. Everyone loves it when Bruno does well, and they can tell me about it. So I actually like United from an attacking perspective under Amarin. I think they look nice. He's still obviously working out which front 3 works best together. Ahmad's looked really nice, but he is also playing a wing-back role. The reason that he's been looking so good is because the sort of right forward has been occupying the fullback a lot of the time. And Ahmad's able to almost, if the winger or the midfielder for the opposition team is not like not great at tracking back, he's been able to get the other side of them, and then he's been able to be running at defenders, and that is where he's at his most dangerous. Like he's really effective running at the defenders, getting them on the back foot. That could also be the case against Man City. But United have got to really have the ball for more periods of time, which I think they might struggle with. He might be a little bit dangerous from the counter, But for me, he's probably not the one I'd go for. Like, I'd rather have like a Rodgers who actually plays in attacking midfield, or an Enzo who, like, effectively, when Chelsea are in attack, plays in attacking midfield. Because they're just in better positions more of the time. I think Ahmad as a wing-back role for United, especially in games against like Man City where they might be pegged back a little bit more, he's going to have less opportunities. So for me, I'll not Ahmad. I would probably go with Rodgers or Enzo. And about the Man United consistency, it's more just because I just feel like Amarim's still rotating through all his players. I think Bruno's been relatively consistent, just like not consistently returning from an FPL perspective, but from a like game style, he's definitely been like consistently like playing pretty well for Man United. So it's just like they need a little bit of time. And like same like defensively, like they've got to have time to understand the spacing in their defense, and that's what they're struggling with. They don't quite know how to space their back line when they've been playing this three with the wing backs. They don't quite know how to press as a team, when to go, who triggers the press yet, and that's just going to come with time and playing together. And once Amarim beds down who he wants in that team, which to be honest, like might take a long time. But we'll see. Vivek, Rodgers to Enzo, free transfer, is it worthy? No, don't do that. Don't waste the transfer on that. I think like you've seen with this assistant manager chip that's come out now, like free transfers are going to be more and more important as the season goes on, and you want to try and save as many as you can. I think it's just going to be more and more important to be hanging on to those free transfers, especially when you get into the back end of the season. I like Man U, but yes, 10 years since the prime of the good old days. Man, you actually could be my brother. He used to be a United fan. Now he's turned into a Crystal Palace fan because that's his local team. But yeah, those were the good old. It's probably more than 10. It was 10 years ago, Fergie, wasn't it? Yeah, I remember those days. I remember watching like the Champions League final maybe like 15 years ago against Bayern Munich at home with my brother. It was really funny because he was sulking when they were 1-0 down in the 90th minute and I was laughing. And then obviously United scored those 2 late goals. And I mean, even I enjoyed it because it was just so crazy. But yeah, I kind of hope that they do get back to being good again. Maybe not winning titles, but it'd be nice to see them become a good team again. It's kind of like boring listening to like Gary Neville talk about how they're rubbish. Anis, why not Trent again? I will explain it one more time. Probably a few more times on the stream. Basically, look, a few reasons for Trent. Obviously, one, like his price point at 7 mil. Any news on Gabriel, Nick? Yeah, sorry, I'll cut back to the Trent question in a second. Very quickly on Gabriel. Arteta basically said he might be available. It's like, yeah, it's just classic. I'll flick up the press conference notes quickly. Said he trained and could be available. I actually moved him for Timber this week. But yeah, it just depends if you like need to or if you can play somebody else. Like I couldn't really play anybody else, so I moved him. Anyway, on Trent. 7 mil price point, obviously a lot of money. And like, let's show the stats. Let's show the stats on screen for you, Dennis. Price point, obviously, like a lot of money, right? And I think personally, like at the moment, the midfield and the front line is a way better place to spend your money. They've obviously been the people who've been getting bigger returns, scoring more points. And one of the reasons for that is this season the bonus point system has changed and it's been much more beneficial for midfielders and strikers and people who are scoring goals rather than defenders. So that is sort of one reason. His price point being 7 million means that he needs to be getting attacking returns to go along with defensive returns to be worth that 7 million. The way that Liverpool set up under Slot is completely different to how they used to set up under Klopp. Their fullbacks play a lot deeper. They're in a more structured defense. Even Salah and their wingers come back and drop in defensively and work much harder defensively. That's why Liverpool have been so much better defensively this season. They've been far more compact. They haven't been caught on the counter that you noticed that much this season. And that is because of the different setup that they're having, which is really restricting their fullbacks and not bombing on as much as they previously used to under Klopp. So Trent's not picking up the same attacking positions that he was under Klopp, under Slot. Now, if you look at this statistically, that maybe doesn't sell you the same view. But the reason for these statistics is, and the reason that they're not actually representative of what's happening in the game, is a lot of these statistics were from early in the season, where Trent created a lot of chances for Diego Jota, I think maybe a couple for Luis Diaz, etc., which were super high XA chances, right? They were like 0.9, like he basically missed from the goal line a couple of times, and a couple, like one I think was the goal. So that inflated his expected assists quite a lot, and he's been sitting there like basically most of the season around this, and he'd only had one assist until last week, where he got the 2 assists. The other thing that inflates his XA stats is that he's on corners for Liverpool. So obviously, like each corner is a small expected assist, right? But recently, McAllister has taken over quite a few of the corners from Trent. Noting McAllister's injured at the moment, so Trent will probably be on corners this week, given like he's out, which is obviously beneficial for Trent. But he is starting to move away from being on corners as well. My thinking is actually because Liverpool might look to sell him this season to Real Madrid, but that's irrelevant to the conversation. Then finally, like the 2 assists that he did get in the last game were because he was brought on for 20 minutes at the end of the game because Liverpool were behind and they needed to get forwards and get a goal. So he was then playing in those advanced positions that he's not been playing in this whole season, and hasn't been in those positions. And he's not going to find himself in that position frequently. You're not going to see Liverpool chasing the game in the last 20 minutes of a game very often this season. Sure, there might be a couple of games where maybe they're behind or they go behind, but realistically, unless they're losing at that stage of the game, their fullbacks are not going to be bombing on like that. Like even if they're drawing, Slot is still setting up to be defensively solid and to not be caught on the counter and lose points the way that Liverpool have, and trust in his offense to break down the low blocks of other teams. So Trent's not been picking up those same positions, and therefore he's not a good pick at all. And if you have him, you should sell him. No doubt. Like I have no doubt on that. Yeah, I just think those funds as well, like way better use in the midfield and offence as well. If you were going to go for a Liverpool, Gabriel hasn't travelled with Arsenal. Nice, Golden Bessie. Let's look at some early team news. Also, though, like be warned. I did note the other week about Arteta sometimes being like, yeah, he's told players to like not travel with the team when like to like put the other guy off the scent. He's told players that have been injured to like bring their kit on the bus, walk out with their wash bag. And like I don't know if I've still got the. Interesting. Where did you see that, Golden Bessie? Not travelled with Arsenal. Alex Fire. Gabriel has not travelled to Goodison Park. Yeah. Is this guy reliable? Yeah, Alex Fire. Yeah, I see that one as well. Wait, hang on a minute. He's not travelled to Goodison Park. That's a troll, man. Arsenal playing at home against Everton. This is the guy that posted the troll tweet. He's actually really funny. Yeah, not true. Don't take that because yeah, Arsenal are playing at the Emirates, so Yeah, I think he, from what I've seen, there is a chance that he may return, but he hasn't been in any of the training photos. Yeah, absolutely wind up. Good one though. I do like his tweets. There's a bit of conflicting information around Gabriel. Like, people have been saying he trained, he's been spotted at the training ground, but he's not actually in any of the training photos. So, look, to be honest, we're not going to find out the answer. We're not going to get early team news. Like, also, this is a thing. Also, like nowadays, like they push the deadline back a little bit this year. Just a Lampy. Start Enzo or Johnson. Spurs, Southampton. Oh. Start Enzo. Brennan Johnson, yeah. Start Enzo. I think the Southampton Spurs game. It's not a good game for. I mean, like generally not great games for Johnson unless it's like transition football. Johnson's not somebody that's good at breaking teams down in a low block. Like as I was saying, he doesn't get involved in the build-up play at all. I would definitely start Enzo. I think in a transition-based game against Brentford for Chelsea, he's a much better option. He'll hopefully be moving into that attacking midfield role when Chelsea attack, and then sit back into defensive midfield. Obviously when they're defending. So yeah, definitely start Enzo. I think that's a lot easier one than it sounds. Yeah, I was saying like early team news. It's a lot harder to get nowadays because they push the deadline now, so it's an hour and a half before the games start. Like I just don't feel like we really get anything. I've barely seen any early team news that's been reliable come out, other than like injuries. Yeah, not seeing anything yet on anything confirmed anyway on Gabriel. I think it's 50-50, man. Look, I think for Gabriel, guys, if you do have him, we'll keep checking and see if anything comes out. There's so many conflicting reports. Gabriel completed full first team training for Arsenal this morning and is expected to return. I don't know, I think it's 50-50. I think Gabriel, guys, if you've got him and you can play other players, put him in your starting team and hope that your bench can cover him if he doesn't play. If you can't cover without him, maybe just sub him for Timber. Like I did that this week. Like I didn't feel like I could cover him, and I transferred him out for Timber. I just feel like this week Arsenal keep. Obviously it's a bad move if Arsenal don't keep a clean sheet against Everton, but I just feel like that's a really good fixture for Arsenal, keeping a clean sheet. Who had the triple? Someone had the triple Arsenal defense earlier. Man, that's going to be wild. Can't remember who that was in the chat, but man, that could be a great game week for you. Yeah. So I don't know where it was. What screen am I aiming for? Don? Defender analysis. Yeah. Yeah. So this is my team this week. I went Salah as captain. I went Saka as vice in the end. I got a bunch of home games this week, so I mean it looks like from the attacking front seven that I've got look awesome for points. Like I feel like they're surely going to deliver. But I mean I felt like that in weeks before where I've not done as well. I think like if you don't get the captaincy right, you can easily lose points on people. If you know Palmer smashes it or Saka smashes it, you're going to lose rank on people. Salah was a bit of a safety pick. I think Guardiola a bit of a tough one against United, especially considering he's probably going to be playing in a centre-back role given the injuries to Man City's centre-backs. Fleck can be Chelsea, no chance of a clean sheet there. Lewis will be Leicester, maybe. Yeah, that's what I went for this week. else did I want to go through with you guys? Yeah, we should go through. Yeah, let's run through this player analysis and we can talk through players that I think are good and bad that aren't on the buy sell hodl sheet that I've done. So yeah, defensively, we've talked about Trent. If someone posts in the chat why sell Trent, I will have a chuckle. We talked about why not to have set Trent. Guardiola, I think, is good for attacking options, attacking possibilities for Man City. I think this week, not so much, given that he's most likely going to be playing in a centre-back role. There is a chance that they play Simpson Pussy at centre-back and put Guardiola at left-back. That would obviously be ideal for Guardiola owners. But I do think going forwards, he's still nice. Man City have got really nice fixtures, especially from game week 18 for about 5-6 weeks. So it could be a nice pick. Kirkes at Bournemouth. Again, Bournemouth with some nice fixtures over the next 4 or 5 game weeks to around game week 20. I think they've got West Ham, United, Palace, Fulham, Everton. Creating going forwards, like obviously in the top, 10, 15 defenders for expected goals and assists. Same for Lewis Hall. I honestly, like when I watch Newcastle play, though, I really don't feel like he's ever going to get an assist, despite these statistics. So I don't know whether they're slightly misleading. But yeah, 2 really nice game weeks, Leicester and Ipswich over the next 2. Hopefully Newcastle can grab a couple of quick clean sheets, and they continue to have some good fixtures all the way through to really game week 24. So a nice sort of cut price 4.5 option. I think there's a few nice sort of 4.5 million, 4.4 to, it's Lewis Hall's 4.5 now, 4.5 to sort of 5 million, 5.1 million players at the moment. Estepinian at Brighton at 5.1. Also Tarek Lamptey at Brighton. If he gets back into that Brighton team at ultimately right wing back, he's at 4.4 million for Brighton at the moment. Super attacking, really gets up and down the field well. He's just as good a pick as Estepinian in my opinion. Scored last week as well for Brighton, Lamptey. So we'll see if he locks his spot down in that team. I think it's a little bit too early to go for him. I think the Brighton fixtures tail away after the next couple of game weeks. They got Brentford, Villa and Arsenal, but then from 21 they pick up again. So I think if over the next 4 or 5 weeks Lamptey sort of solidifies his slot in that right wing back role, then I'd definitely look as him. He would become an option for me for sure in that 4.4 to 5.1. Saliba, obviously great pick for Arsenal, secure minutes, one of the best defensive teams in the league with great fixtures. Same for Gabriel. We'll obviously see whether he plays or not this week. But going forwards from next week, definitely going to be a good pick if he doesn't play this week. Milenkovic at Nottingham Forest. I think a lot of the Nottingham Forest defenders lovely picks. Nottingham Forest really solid back four, really well coached. I think Nuno's got them coached superbly well. Moreno and Aina as well. Fullbacks look nice. Milenkovic obviously corner threat, which is how he made it onto here. So yeah, again, like I think all of the Nottingham Forest defenders really are nice options. And Nottingham Forest fixtures turn from 19, so this is sort of a look forward to the future from when I think you might want to be starting to bring them in. That coincides with when Aït-Nouri's fixtures get worse, so they've obviously got Ipswich, Leicester, United, and then in 19 their fixtures turn, Forests get good. That is a really nice swing around 19, 20, 21, a little sort of mini fixture swing again for some of these cut price defender teams, where you go from like a Wolves to a Brighton, or a Wolves and a Bournemouth to a Brighton and a Nottingham Forest, and a Fulham as well. So those are the defenders I like. Midfield, obviously the main three: Salah, Palmer, Saka. I'd want to, if I were you, my first point of call would be working out how I can get all three of them in my team. That's almost like the most important thing for me at the moment. I would want to get those guys all in my team. Some of the cut price options that we were talking about were Buonanotte. Like someone was asking about Semenyo earlier. Buonanotte is a nice option. I think Cliver is a nice option on pens for Bournemouth as well. Mitoma maybe a little bit more expensive around that price. Rogers, Enzo, all of these guys for me fit into that same sort of mould around the Semenyo area. Brennan Johnson for me, get out of him. He's a sell. Really don't like him. Not him as a bloke. I'm sure he's a lovely guy. As an FPL option. I think he's a nice guy. I don't know. Looks like a young kid. As an FPL option, he just doesn't pick up any good positions in my opinion. He's great on the counter attack or when teams are trying to attack against Spurs, but Spurs against a low block going to really struggle. I think he might struggle this week against Southampton. RB Barnes, as Saad mentioned earlier, someone like interesting as a differential pick. And then obviously Diego Jota is someone to consider from maybe 18 onwards. I think once he comes back and is fit, he's going to come straight back into that lineup up front for Darwin Núñez. I think Darwin not looks particularly good for Liverpool in that number 9 role. And I think Jota will come straight back in and be the starting number 9. And I think Liverpool players know that as well, because at the beginning of the season, I did a cheeky analysis of some of the FPL teams that were picked by Mo Salah, Diego Jota, Robbo, Trent, etc. I think almost all of them had Diego Jota until he got injured in their team. So I thought that was an interesting insight into them thinking he's going to be playing every week. They didn't transfer him out of the side like a lot of people did when he got benched one week. So they were obviously confident that it was just like a little rotation from slot and then he'd be first choice again. Thought that was quite an interesting insight. So I think Jota is definitely somebody that I'll be looking at that sort of cut price option for in a few weeks' time, when I'll probably look at moving Bowen on after his nice little fixture run of 5 games. Outside of that, some other options, sort of maybe a little bit higher price than Semenyo, maybe like a Mitoma, Garnacho, and then up to like a Martinelli, Trossard, Anthony Gordon. That's sort of your 6, 7, 8 mil players that I would think about. Bruno Fernandes. And then you're getting, and then maybe Odegaard is the final possible option. I think he's a little bit too expensive for my taste, but I think he could score some points this week for sure. So I think that's sort of the players that I would consider from a midfielder's perspective. Forwards, we're looking at Alexander Isak, probably the number 1 on the list for me for forwards at the moment. Great game weeks against Leicester and Ipswich over the next 2. Callum Wilson's obviously picked up an injury, so he's going to be the main man for the next sort of 8 or so. Unlikely to have any rotations on penalties. Talisman of the team really. So I think he's the number 1 guy that you're looking at. Outside of that, João Pedro, Nicholas Jackson, at that high price. Chelsea obviously scoring a lot of goals. Isak and Jackson are probably the 2 I would compare. I'd probably go for Isak over Jackson at the moment just because of the fixtures and the lack of rotation for Isak, whereas Jackson maybe has more potential to be rotated, as we saw last week for Chelsea. Ollie Watkins I had as a sell. He's picked up a knock, so he's unlikely to be playing. He's unlikely to be starting this week for Villa. There is a chance that he's back. Like they said, he needs to be assessed. But I think after Duran scored as well in the last game, he's going to start this week. And there is a chance that he might retain his place in that side. I know Watkins has felt like he's disappointed a lot of managers, but I think he's been fine. Like, he scored 7 goals, got 3 assists. He's basically the same as Nicholas Jackson and Alexander Isak. And they're all around the same price, so it's just he's probably had a few more very nice chances that he just wasn't able to convert, that probably frustrated some managers. And Villa have not been as good as they could be. At that sort of lower price, I would say João Pedro is the number one sort of guy you're looking at, mostly because of the price point, but also just due to Brighton's nice fixtures. He's also on penalties, talisman of the team. Yeah, I think he's just a really nice option going forwards. Outside of him, my other main guys, Johan Wissa, incredible footballing IQ, fixture proof, going to continue to score points. I'd probably have him in my team if I could afford him. But at the moment, I sort of needed to save a little bit of money, and I went for JP, and I don't want to make the transfer because I feel like it's a bit of a sideways move. And transfers are like more crucial than that. And then Chris Wood, like, I know he's really far down here in the statistics, but again, tactically, if you look at the way that Nottingham Forest play and how he is sort of the end product of everything that happens at Nottingham Forest, you'll see why he scored 10 goals this season and has the second most goals for a striker outside of Erling Haaland and 13. So although Chris Wood is all the way down there after Jamie Vardy, Semenyo to Gordon, AK. Yeah, I like it. I definitely do Semenyo to Gordon. Definitely a good option. Newcastle have got really nice fixtures coming up. Semenyo's not quite been up to scratch at the moment and getting the returns that we'd like for him. Yeah, if you've got the money, I think it's a nice move. But if you do have that money, that's about 1.4 mil. Do you also have Saka, Palmer and Salah in your midfield? Because if not, I'd focus on upgrading somebody else to one of those three. That's probably my first priority. But if you've got those three, then yeah, Semenyo to Gordon's a nice move at the moment. Ipswich and Leicester are the next two for Newcastle. Great fixtures. Again, also I'd rather have Isak as well, so depends what the rest of your team is, whether that's the highest priority move you can make. But if the rest of your team's looking nice, then yeah, I think it's a good move. Yeah, some of the lower price strikers, Vardy, Evan Nilsson, also ones to look out for. I think Vardy's been in really good form at the moment under Rude. Sort of rejuvenated Leicester a little bit, Rude. And Jamie Vardy, the evergreen striker, continues to keep going. Okay, mate. If you want me to have a closer look at your team, chuck your team ID in the chat, and I'll pull it up on the screen, and we can have a look at it and go through it. It's just a bit hard to tell, like based off that one transfer. Like I think it's a good transfer, but in the context of your team, maybe there are others that are better. Yeah, and then Matteo Antonio. Yeah, terrible news. Mikel Antonio, high-speed car crash. Thoughts out to his family. Hopefully he is okay and manages to recover. I think it's been reported that he might not be walking for like 12 months or something crazy like that. I think that's what I saw. Let's have a look. Mikel Antonio. Is he in a penguin suit getting out of that crash? I haven't seen the photos really. That looks crazy. It looks like he got out of the car. That can't be real. That can't be a real photo. He couldn't have been wearing a penguin suit. Yeah, I don't know, but hopefully he makes a speedy recovery because that looked like a really nasty incident. And yeah, obviously it was nice that West Ham got the win, and no, that's a fake video. And celebrated him because he's obviously been a huge player for West Ham for a long time and a key part of their club and their history. So yeah, thoughts out to Mikel. Hopefully he gets better soon. Yeah, guys, that is the main forwards also that I wanted to talk about. If you got any questions around any others, let me know, and I'll chuck them on. We can discuss. Buy sell hodl. Everyone liked this last week. Yeah, I think midfield wise, these are sort of the guys I'd be looking at the moment. Bowen's probably right on the lower end of a buy for me. He's only got a few nice game weeks left, so it's more of like a short-term punt. No, not really punt, but like short-term punt. Yeah, a bit of a short-term punt for 3 game weeks, and then I'd look to move him on for maybe a Diego Jota. Could come into play. If you got Mbeumo, I think it's time to go, even though he hauled last week. Brennan Johnson, as we talked about, needs to go. Fernandes is a hold for me. Semenyo is a hold for me. Unless you have transfers that are burning holes in your pockets, I think it's worth just rolling, unless you're really looking to target a specific fixture or fixtures, or you're looking to get in a Saka, Salah or Palmer for one of them, or anybody on the left hand side really. Then it would be, they'd be holds for me. Front line we've discussed, and defensive line we have discussed. So maybe I will move on to just the tactical observations, talk through those. And then how long have we got left to the deadline? Probably still got an hour. Yeah, about 1 hour left to the deadline. Then we'll have a look for some early team news after we've gone through this. And then, to be honest, I'm not expecting that much early team news. So by the time we get to midnight, if there's nothing, might just end the stream early. Be 12 o'clock in Oz, so have a quick nap, get up for the first game, go back to sleep. Got to get my analysis in for you guys, Yeah, I've not been feeling very well this week. You can probably hear in my voice, it sounds like I've got a bit of a lisp. I can't pronounce the words because I got an infection in my wisdom teeth at the back, and I was in the dentist earlier today, and he basically just flipping tried to numb my gum with a needle, which I already don't like needles, and then just started. Anyway, disgusting. So you probably go there, probably losing people on this stream while I'm talking about that. So yeah, my mouth is kind of in pain. I was actually looking to see if I brought my Panadol upstairs, but I didn't. So I will live with the repercussions of my actions for the next hour or so. So yeah, just running through the game week 15 tactical observations, and my thoughts on those games and the matches, how the teams looked, and maybe you guys can make your own thoughts on therefore this week and what you think, or we can talk through that afterwards. Man City again looked leggy. Didn't look like they've obviously got a bunch of injuries. Their players just looked like they were tired. They played a lot of games over the last couple of years. Like they haven't had a lot of break. They just look tired. They've been trying to get some young guns into the... That's why I think maybe there's a chance that Simpson Pooty plays at centre back. They need some sort of youth and legs in their team because they've been struggling a little bit. And yeah, their backline's almost, because they have struggled in transition, their backline's got a little bit deeper. And then they've left space in between their defence and their midfield. Like the Man City backline normally pushes up super high. But they've really been struggling in transition and teams getting in behind them. The defence not being super quick. Like even Kyle Walker's been outpaced a few times this season. Rico Lewis hasn't been getting back in time. Guardiola's not that fast. Ruben Dias not that fast. So they've had a few problems. And Crystal Palace are notoriously a bogey team for Man City these days, and they always manage to get a result, especially at Selhurst Park. Selhurst Park is like a fortress for them against Man City. And again, they also employed like the five at the back defensively, man marking Haaland, something that Southampton employed early in the season. That's been consistently working against Man City. They've been finding it difficult to break that sort of style defence down. Lots of teams have employed it. Man City really have only, got more joy against teams that are going to come out and play against them. Over the last few weeks, they've got better. They've started to sort of get it together a little bit, and be able to break down teams a little bit more easily. Fulham v Arsenal. Fulham played a low block. Actually, Fulham played it like a crazy 5-4-1 against Arsenal, which basically was 5 at the back. Ethan. Hey, Ethan. How are you, mate? Luis Diaz or Gordon in for Mbumo? Ooh, I like Luis Diaz. That is something I've not heard. Luis Diaz. Let's have a look at this, because he's obviously rotated minutes a bit with Gakpo in the league, but maybe it's not the right week for a Liverpool player. I would say that there's a chance that Fulham could keep a clean sheet in that game, and Liverpool struggle to break them down. I hope that doesn't happen. But let's just have a look at it. I can't remember who Liverpool started with and against Girona in midweek. Did they start with Diaz and Gakpo? Yeah, they started with Diaz and Nunes, which makes me think that he would start Gakpo in the league, because that's what he normally does. He normally just rotates the two of them. But there is a chance that he also plays Diaz as the number 9 and Gakpo on the left. I think it's not quite time. I almost think that, like I was talking earlier, that I think like Diego Jota is going to become an option. I think he'll be someone nice to get into Liverpool, but I just don't think this week is the week to move to that. I think if you are going to do it, it's probably 18 against Leicester. I mean, I think if Diaz starts 17, I think 18 against Leicester might be the time, or 19 against West Ham. One of those 2 game weeks is really where I'd be looking at Liverpool. I'd probably be looking at Diaz, just because of the rotation. Otherwise, yeah, Gordon, nice, but he doesn't strike me as someone who's ever going to get like big hauls. I'd almost rather, like, I know this is going to be not the best received, but I'd almost rather go like Jarrod Bowen for 3 weeks and then just like bench him against Liverpool, and then he might return against City because they've been bad, and then Fulham, Palace. I just think Bowen has more of a chance of getting a big haul than Gordon. Like for example, last week Bowen got 12 points. Yeah, definitely someone I would think about. And also, if you don't have like a Saka, then have a think about like Martinelli, because Arsenal's fixtures are great. So I don't know. There's something about Gordon to me just doesn't like. I'm not excited. I'm not excited to get him in the team. I don't like. Yeah, he's got good fixtures. He plays for a decent team. He plays on the wing. But if we go and look at like, why don't we go and look at like his returns over the last few weeks and pull them up on screen. Let's just show them for this season. 185226021922210-3. I mean that's not great. Like, and I don't feel like anything is going to change there. He's just not somebody that really excites me as a pick. And I'd almost rather keep Mbumo as well. No, I'm not sure I would. I'd really think about whether you want to make that change. I don't think Gordon is any better than Mbumo over the next 5 game weeks. And I do think that potentially in like you could either go Bowen for a few weeks, 3 weeks, or you could save that transfer and move in like an 18 or 19 to maybe like Diego Jota. Or if you don't have either a Palmer or Saka, you can go for like an Enzo or a Martinelli. But yeah, don't particularly like Palmer. Really want to take out Mbumo. As I'm a Chelsea supporter, I probably want more of a short. So probably want more of a short-term option. So Bowen. Yeah, short-term option. Yeah, I'll go Bowen, man. Like I like Bowen. Next 3 games: Bournemouth, Brighton, Southampton. He just got 12 points last week. Man, he's the main guy for West Ham. There is a chance that, and like see when he like gets, so he can get bigger hauls than Gordon as well. Yeah, there is a chance that you see Fulkrug back for West Ham this week, up top, in the middle. Kudus is back now from his suspension, so that West Ham attacking line is starting to get a little bit better. Yeah, and Bowen looks in good form as well, so I would go Bowen. I understand wanting to take Mbumo. I made the transfer of Mbumo to Bowen 2 weeks ago. He hasn't really done anything because Mbumo got 13 points last week, so they evened each other out. Hopefully over the next 3 that pays some dividends, so I can support you with Bowen as well. Where were we? Oh yes, sorry. So Fulham set up against Arsenal, almost like I expect them to do something similar against Liverpool. They played a 5-4-1, and it was a super narrow 5-4-1. Their 4 in midfield was basically a box, and that box was like, they basically said to Arsenal, we're going to put this box of 4 out on our left, on Arsenal's right, and Saka's not going to be able to play football, and Martinelli's not going to beat us. And I've never seen a team do that. Just be like, the other guys, no problem, we'll deal with him. We're just going to put everybody over here. And Arsenal just didn't switch the play quick enough. Like they didn't move the play side to side fast enough to exploit that box that Fulham played in the midfield. They needed to switch it back and forth a lot quicker. I do think if they do that with Liverpool move the ball too quickly for them. But it just means that Salah might not get the returns that I want him to get. So captaincy this week is difficult, very difficult. I'd love to have the courage to go for Saka, but I don't have the courage. I'm thinking about it as I'm talking now. Let's keep going, and then we'll finish on me changing my mind on captaincy at the last minute. Tottenham Chelsea here, goals. Maresca's tactics were crazy, really. Sorry, not crazy. Maresca's tactics were amazing. The way he did it at half time and made the adjustments to deal with Tottenham. He basically brought Gusto on for Lavia, played him in a back three with Basashvili and I butchered that name probably, and the other guy. And then Cucurella inverted into like an attacking midfield role. Caicedo went into the two defensive midfield roles with Enzo. And they just overloaded Tottenham in the middle. Similar towards the end of the first half, they did the same thing. Caicedo came into the defensive midfield slot. Enzo pushed up into attacking midfield. So when they're attacking, they attack as like a one up top, and then like a left wing, a right wing, two attacking midfielders, and one defensive midfielder, and and two defensive midfielders. So it's like a 6 in midfield, and then 3 at the back. So they attack as 3-6-1, and they defend as 4-5-1, which is just awesome. Like the way they play is awesome. I really like it. And they outnumbered Basuma basically, and I mean it obviously led to Basuma getting sent off in the end. But they always had 2 attacking midfielders against Basuma, and he had to choose who he was going to, or try and hedge in between both, and they just overran Spurs there. I think Ange needed to change it a little bit quicker, and I love Ange obviously being an Aussie. I've got to support him, but I think he needed to have 2 defensive midfielders. And make that switch earlier because they got overrun in the middle a little bit. I expect again Chelsea to have a super high press against Brentford again. In the same manner that they did. I expect Brentford to press Chelsea as well. I expect there to be goals in that game. So it'll be really interesting to see the tactical Thomas Frank beat Maresca and what happens in that game. Villa. We talked about Watkins' injury. Might be a bit different with Duran being up top this week. He could definitely be a difference for Villa. Definitely interesting with him playing up top. I do think Villa do tend to have a little bit of a hangover though after their midweek Champions League games. So there obviously is a chance that they not come out particularly fast against Nottingham Forest. But yeah, I think that game could be a low-scoring game, Villa v Forest. Both teams might look to be quite solid. Villa probably won't play with as much energy. Forest are normally more of a counter-attacking team. So yeah, might be a low goal-scoring game. Southampton are playing Tottenham. I've talked about Southampton, how they play out from the back. I think that their centre-backs are too narrow, so they don't give enough space. So when they do play out from the back, what they need to do is their centre-backs need to get wider. Then their defensive midfielders can come and occupy the narrow space and pick the ball up. So if their centre-backs split a little bit, then you've got the goalkeeper in the middle and the 2 defensive midfielders like filling in there. At the moment, their centre-backs are narrow, their defensive midfielders are narrow, and then their wing-backs are out here. And it's like, well, they've only got one pass out to the wing. Like, it's so, like, the way you're basically like the front men pressing the centre-backs are also covering the defensive midfielders because they've not spread wide enough and created that space. And I don't know, I just feel like it's something that Russell Martin's got to see, and like he's got to change that, because positionally it's poor, and that's one of the reasons that Southampton give the ball away so much. Also because like they need to know when they can be passing. Like IQ of the Southampton defence is like the lowest. Like they must have all failed at high school, because none of them have a clue what they're doing. Like I was taught how to play out from the back at like year 9. And I wouldn't be as bad as they are. Like it's awful. Some of the passes they play, you're like, what are you doing? Like the guy has got his back, he's facing his own goal inside his box with a player like 2 meters behind you, and you're passing him the ball. Like, nah, mate, what are you doing? But on the flip side, defensively, when they're set up and they're defending, not when their defence have the ball and they're trying to attack, when they're defending, they're really well organised. Like they're a really difficult team to break down, and Spurs are not a team that are very good at breaking down low blocks. So unless Southampton do something very Southampton-like and give the ball away, I think Spurs are going to find it really difficult breaking them down. I think it could be a very low-scoring game. Southampton might even get a result. West Ham Wolves. Fulkrug actually might be back this week. There's potential that he starts, or at least comes on off the bench for a sort of longer cameo than he did last time. I thought Bowen was excellent, and Wan-Bissaka playing together down that right hand side for West Ham, very influential, created a lot of stuff. I think he looks really nice as an FPL option going forwards. He's someone that's in my team that I'm going to have for at least the next 3 weeks. I will consider whether I want to take him out after when we get to the Liverpool game. It just depends if there are some nicer options at that price point that come up. Wolves struggling. We talk of this. We say the same thing about Wolves every week. They struggle creatively. They haven't quite worked out what defensive structure to play. Whether it's going to be, you transferred Gabriel to Timber. Yeah, I did. Mate. Just because of my defence. If I show my, I'll show you my screen. That's my team. So I had Lewis and Fayez and Gabriel, and I was like, well, if Lewis is suspended, Gabriel doesn't play, I don't really want to sit Fayez, Guardiola and Hall as my back line. And I also feel like this Arsenal game against Everton, Arsenal are going to keep a clean sheet. I feel pretty strongly on that. So I wanted to make sure that I got the points, and so I felt like it was worth the transfer. But yeah, we can have another look at team news. I mean, we will do in a second once we get through this. Once we get through these tactical observations, then we'll go back and we'll check out some team news. Have you made your transfer, Isaac, or not? Sorry, I'm looking up team news now. You started got me thinking about Gabriel. Seems like it's likely that he's going to play, like from what I'm seeing, but you just can't trust anything that you see from Arsenal. Like you just can't. There's some funny stuff on Blue Sky on it as well. So that was Wolves. Like we talked about Wolves a lot. Lack of creativity, heavily reliant on Cunha. Haven't worked out whether to play a back 5 or back 4. Back 4 obviously hurts Ait Nouri from his attacking perspective. Back 5, he's playing in that high wing back role, which is much better for him. Man United v Nottingham Forest. Amarin sort of changes his setup frequently. we're still waiting to see whether like what his front three is going to be, and which is the best front three for him. He changes it frequently. It has been looking good for Bruno. Like Bruno's been nice on the counter going forwards. Has been really picking up nice spaces for United. I think he's looked actually quite a nice option. But I do think Nottingham Forest didn't have a particularly good game. They're normally much more well drilled defensively. So yeah, pretty disappointing game week for them actually. And yeah, I've talked about earlier again, Man United defensively, not yet, as right now Bruno and Van Heck out for Timber and Gordon. Yeah, good transfers, Bruno and Van Heck for Timber and Gordon. I like that. I would go Timber over Gabriel. Like I would definitely go Timber over Gabriel if you're making the transfer currently. My mate reckons Arsenal by 2, Wolves by 1. Just saw his message on WhatsApp. Costa, you should be watching my stream. You might be on here watching. If you are, you should post your predictions in the chat. 2-2 Forest draw at Villa. Don't know what I think about that. Yeah. Yeah, I think Forest like super well organised defensively. I'm expecting them to probably keep the goals to a minimum in the game this week. Brentford, Newcastle. I have got the wrong commentary on this. But yeah, Newcastle obviously against Leicester. I'm backing a Newcastle win. I think they have been getting into some nice form. I think Isak's been looking pretty nice, and I'm hopeful for an Isak return this game week. Might have a look if we can see some early team news. Scrolling down my Twitter and some weird stuff on there. 34 photos of Arsenal training posted, none with Gabriel in. But they say that he's returned and trained with the team. Spotted at the training ground, not in the training pictures, but apparently he's trained with the team. It's like they're basically telling you so many different things. Arsenal love it, they love playing games. Late fitness test for Gabby is the latest news from a reliable source, supposedly. I mean, that makes me think that he probably won't start. Like, why would you risk him? Why would you risk him? No, nothing else on team news. Not seeing anything. To be honest, like I said, I'm not expecting to get anything before the deadline, really. Not anything reliable, anyway. Like, you won't get any of the teams. It's just they moved the deadline now, so it's just way harder now. It's an hour and a half before. Man, people are still subbing in Trent this week. Trent for Guardiola? Yeah, I would never do that. It's a crazy transfer. Crazy transfer. No, nothing really. Nothing going on. Waiting for team news like Pablo Escobar sitting on a bench, really, aren't we? How long we got to a deadline, guys? 50 minutes. Probably time to make some decisions. Let me pull my team up, have a think about who I'm going to captain. And then maybe I get some time back in my life to have a quick sleep before the game starts. Quick little nap. Alright, let's have a look at this team then, shall we? Wood at home to Villa. Nice game. Not expecting huge returns, but you know, Villa centre backs could get caught out. Isak at Leicester, surely got to get me a return. João Pedro at Palace. Palace has been starting to look a little bit better, so not sure, but hopeful for something. They like to concede penalties, Palace, so it's an option. West Ham away at Bournemouth. Bournemouth have been pretty good at home, hey? What's Bournemouth's home form been like? I'm pretty sure it's been great. Bournemouth at home drew with Newcastle, lost to Chelsea 1-0, beat Southampton, beat Arsenal, beat Man City, lost to Brighton, beat Tottenham. Yeah, very good home form. So not an easy game for Bowen. But I mean, goals, like still could be goals in it. Conceded 2 to Brighton, conceded 1 to Man City, Arsenal got a guy sent off, conceded 1 to Southampton. Conceded 1 to Chelsea, conceded 1 to Newcastle. It's a way that they've been conceding more. Been conceding tons of goals away from home. It's probably because of the compactness of their pitch at home. Suits their play style. Very much suits their play style. Salah, Saka, Palmer. Who to captain? I really want to captain Saka, like I really do. I think he's the best choice for the week. I really think he's the best choice. I just can't go against Salah. Just the form he's in is just insane. Everton v Fulham goals conceded. Fulham 20, Everton 21. But Everton have played 1 game less. Should we look at Fulham's away form? Do you suggest getting rid of Smith Rowe or saving my free transfer? Depends what your team is, Jack. Do you want to post your team ID in the chat? We can have a look at it. I can give you my opinion. I don't mind Smith Rowe. I think Smith Rowe is fine. Fulham have got some nice fixtures coming up in a few weeks' time. Yeah, if you've got your team ID Jangsaw. Chuck it in the chat. If you don't know how to get your team ID, go to points and then at the top in the oh yeah, nice. Thanks. Let's check your team out. 8727560. Oh, that's a late registration. 872. Oh, bear with me. I hope it plays. Oh, so you've got Salah, Saka, Palmer, Gordon. Oh, Smith Rowe. Okay. So you don't have a lot of bench rotation. Is this? Oh, it's Joe Gomez. Yeah. Okay. So I'm assuming you're playing Lewis. I'm sorry, Gomez, Nuri, Zabani, Bournemouth. Nice pick. It's different. Who do you move Smith Rowe to? I don't think you need to. Like, you're gonna have playing players. Start Edison, Ain't Nuri, Gomez, Zabani, Gordon, Palmer, Saka, Salah, Cunha, Jackson. Oh, one more, Smith Rowe. Yeah, and then it's like Smith Rowe or Robinson. And you got nothing in the bank, so if you're moving from Smith Rowe, you're already taking a -4, no? Was last week. So you just have one transfer this week, is that right? That's weird, I've never seen that on this game. Who would we move from Smith Rowe? Yeah, there's not really. I wouldn't move from Smith Rowe. There's no one around that price point I would say like is a really great pick. Like I would say there are nice picks. There are like Rodgers, there's Enzo, there's Clivert, Buonanotte. They're all good picks, but so Smith Rowe. I don't think there's any point using that transfer. They're very valuable at the moment, free transfers. Now the assistant manager chips come out as well. Just means that the free transfers are going to be even more valuable. So definitely worth saving it up. And the fact that you've used your triple captain chip as well means that you got a few more options for that assistant manager chip. So I'd try and save up your free transfers now in case you want to use it in like game week 25, game week 23. Yeah, definitely save the transfer, mate. But I think your team looks pretty good. Like, yeah, it looks fine. I understand why you want to sell Smith Rowe. You probably want to downgrade and use the money to maybe upgrade Chiwomi to like a Chris Wood or something. That's probably what I'd do if I could. Downgrade Smith Rowe to like Ahmad, Enzo, Rodgers. Probably not Enzo because you got 2 Chelsea. Maybe like Rodgers, Clivert, Ahmad, and then upgrade Chiwomi to like João Pedro with Chris Wood. If you got enough money for that, that would be good. Nice team though. Looks good. Who have you captained this week? You can help me make my mind up. I don't bloody know. I can't make this decision. Salah or Saka? I don't think Palmer's the right captain. I don't think Palmer's the right captain. Do I? Could be. I mean, it's a good fixture for him as well. I just think he's more likely to blank. I think I think Palmer like could be super explosive, but also could blank. I think Salah and Saka. I'll probably save for picks. And then if you're going to go for a safer pick, you should probably go for Salah. I think that logic makes sense. I was really close to changing to Saka. Very close to changing Saka. No, I think Salah's the better captain. I really do. I think he's the better choice. You look at goals conceded though, Brentford 28, that's mad. And then goals scored, Chelsea 35, most goals scored. Brentford are like in the bottom 4 for goals conceded. And Chelsea are at home. And I'm not captaining Palmer. It's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. And they've conceded to everybody as well. They've actually conceded against everybody. It's wild. Let's put the nicer version of my team up on the screen. So we can look at that instead. But I do think the Brentford formation, like the way they play, like that box 4, like matches up quite nicely against Chelsea's box 4. Might not be as easy for Palmer to find the space. Might not be as easy. Be crazy if Mbeumo played wing back and scored 13 points again after everyone transferred him out. I mean, he's not really, like, realistically, like, the fluidity of that Brentford attack is like everyone almost plays everywhere. Like Lewis Potter's playing winger, Mbeumo's playing winger, Wissa's playing up front, Thiago's playing up front. They're playing like 4 up front, Carvalho's playing like 5 up front at some points. And then you got like, you can also say that they've got Mbeumo at wing back and Lewis Potter at wing back and 3 at the back, 5 at the back and 5 up front. What a team! And they got a box 4 in midfield. They're playing 14 players. It's just great. Similar to Chelsea, just the way they set up with these different formations in attack and defence is really cool. I think it's been like quite a new thing this year. The like inversions of the fullbacks into like attacking midfield positions, or like shifting all the way through the team. I mean, I know we've seen Pep do similar-ish stuff, but not the same. Not the same. Any team news? Is Focal doing early stream this week? Huh. Should have shouted out my stream. This is the best stream. I have got the best tactical information out there. Guys, if you want any of your teams looked at, any Any teams looked at? Just post your team ID in the chat. Maybe I'll pin it. Post team ID in chat. If you want your team reviewed. I'll just pin it. Uh, 35 more minutes to the deadline. I'll stick around, so if people have got any questions or comments, and then yeah, maybe I'll finish like 15 minutes early if nothing's come through. Last time I said this and then like everyone flew into existence. Let me carry on looking for team news. Yeah, people talk about captaincy decisions swinging rank, but that is a bit frustrating, to be fair. I feel like I've made some great decisions this year and just could have been even higher, but I mean, it's part of the game. You know, you got to choose what you think. You got to pick your strategy, and you got to think about the tactics. You can't just be like, this is a nice fixture. You got to think about how the team's set up. I think that's what a lot of people are missing. You really got to think a bit harder about tactical decisions. But then I guess people don't. A lot of people don't know. That's why you join my channel. There you go. We'll talk through the tactics. We will talk through the tactics. Guys, please post your questions in the chat. If no one's posting stuff, then I'll sack off a bit early and have a nap before the game starts, which would be lovely. It's midnight here in Oz, so different life. Always got to stream at crazy hours. So easy for, not easy, but a lot easier for content creators in the UK. Man, you guys can post videos like straight away afterwards as well. No chance of me doing that. It's 5 AM, go to sleep after the games. What time was that streamed? Crazy. Finners, mate, do you know what? This is perfect timing from you because I was hoping you'd be in the chat today because this is the first time that I've been able to flip and find this thing. Guys, Finners created me the most epic banner of all time. And I've finally been able to show it on the screen. So let me get my face out of the bloody way as well. Look at that. Beautiful, mate. Thank you for that. That's absolutely legendary. There we go. Get my face out of the way. Yeah, I've been sucking trying to get this on. For some reason, it's been like not allowing me to do it, but I just decided I was going to set this up just in case you joined today. Why is everyone captaining Salah over Palmer? Please, mate, don't ask me this question. This is my fear. Palmer over Salah. Yeah, look, I think like these are things to think about. To be honest, I think Saka's an option as well, right? And I think this week is another week where it's an incredibly close call between them. What I would say is the Palmer game against Brentford. Brentford have conceded like the 4th most goals in the league this year, and Chelsea has obviously scored the most. And also both play in transition, like Chelsea can, like they did against Spurs, played fast-paced transition football. When Spurs turned the ball over, went after them. Like that has also been Brentford's downfall. Same sort of thing, like fast-paced transition football. They've conceded a ton of goals. Like if you look at the tables here? No, they don't. But if I just pull up like just say and be my and you look at these sort of games, like they're conceding 3 in these fast-paced transition games against Tottenham, Wolves, similar, like crazy. Look at these games, like 4-3, 3-2. Bournemouth again, like high energy, fast-paced transition game. They do tend to concede a lot of goals in those sort of games. I think for me, like it just sort of depends on like how Thomas Frank sets up, and I think I'm finding it difficult to know what he's going to do about Palmer. A lot of teams lately have like man marked Palmer, and it's like minimised him to an extent. But what Maresca's done is he's told Palmer to do like a similar thing to like Pep used to do with Messi, like drift out wide. And then the midfielders like that's why Enzo's been so successful lately, because then Enzo's been pushing up into that attacking midfield position on the other side. They overload the like defensive midfielder of the other team, and the guy chooses to go with Palmer. Enzo's in space, and then he's able to drive, go forwards, etc. So he's almost like shifting away to open up space for the rest of the team. And obviously, like last week, he got 2 penalties, right? So that boosted his numbers a little bit. But yeah, for me, that's why I sort of think like there is a chance that Palmer might not have as explosive a game as people were saying. I've got Salah, mate. Salah's my captain. I'll show you. Salah's my captain this week. I just thought it was a difficult choice, but mate, if you look at Salah's, look at this, 14 game weeks. He's scored in 11 of 14 game weeks and assisted in one of the other ones. There's only 2 game weeks where he hasn't returned. Like this is, I'm hugely jinxing myself now because he's gonna go and get like 2 points and get books or something like that. In Aussie we trust. Yeah, cheers, mate. So I've gone for Salah as well, but I think it's a really difficult call this week. I also think Saka against Everton tactically is a really nice game for him. Yeah, Everton play like a really like long ball style direct game, and Arsenal have really great physicality, possession base, and they're just going to have the ball and keep going again and again and again. And Saka and Odegaard are going to be massive in breaking that down. So it's a bit of luck, I think, this week. There's a bit of luck involved in it. I just think the sensible decisions to go with Salah based off his history, and also Fulham are missing Bassi and Anderson this week, centre back. So they are missing some defenders, even though they did make it on Arsenal last week. I'll be back now, just changing. Nice one, mate. Simon Gaynor, another hardcore fan. Love to see you, mate. You've got Saka as captain and Salah VC and Palmer. Cunha and João Pedro on my team as well. Yeah, mate, between Saka and Salah, I couldn't make the choice, to be honest. Those were the 2 I was tossing up between. Thought Palmer had the highest likelihood to blank, so like he's probably also the highest likelihood for explosion. How many points did I get last week? I got 66, I think. This was my team last week. Oh shit, no, that's not my team last week, that's my team. This is it, 66. That's what happened last week. It was a decent week. I captained Bowen. Palmer got me 18. I know I probably could have captained Palmer. How many did you get? Didn't you captain Palmer last week? I think so. Only 40. Not a good week. Yeah, I mean, there's been a few weeks that have been, you know, captaincy's played a huge part and just had such big rank swings. And if you haven't got captaincy right, like for example, if Jared Bowen hadn't returned, I'd have probably been like 400k in the world. Got 58 finners, yeah. That's the thing, like, just depends on who you captain. Captain Saka this week, like, is, yeah, mate. I mean, it's a tough call this week. It really is a tough call. Look, I'm supporting Saka for points as well because if I'm honest, like, I think what I've seen in like the top 200k is most people are captaining Salah or Palmer, so points for Saka are good for me. I'm down for that. I'm keen for Palmer to not do much, and Salah and Saka can bomb it. Saka is not. Yeah, I don't know. Like what I would say like Palmer is the one for me where I think like he's not consistent in scoring, but he's explosive in terms of he can score big points in a game week. Whereas I feel like Saka, I almost feel like just ticks over nicely each week. And Salah obviously is just like the most consistent bloke on the planet. Maybe we just have a quick quick look at Saka's sort of history because I feel like he does tick over, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, at the beginning of the season he was sort of like assist. There's not been like, just maybe the last 2 game weeks. Really the last 6 he's sort of been a bit more explosive, or the YouTuber pros haven't had the best season with captain so far. Yeah, speaking I honestly, like, my opinion of that is they look at fantasy football from like a statistical lens, and they look at like XG and XA and like they'll watch the games obviously, but like they don't really like have a great tactical understanding of football and like how the team's set up, how the teams are actually matched up against each other, and how they like the managers all choose to work against different players. Which is actually why I started this YouTube channel. Honestly, that was why I started it, because I felt like I gave a different lens, and that's sort of like what I hope to build on as a niche. And I think that's why their captains haven't been so amazing. But I do think like this week is actually very close and not easy to call as well, because especially in that Palmer versus Brentford game, you just don't know how Thomas Frank's going to set up against them. He's so fluid with his team. That's why I'm the coach. Thanks, mate. Keep going these 6 views, PC stuff. Yeah, mate. Let's hope so. One day. Who we got here? Like years, Chelsea years. My team: Raya, Timber, Aït-Nouri, Pedro Porro, Saka, Enzo, Johnson, Palmer, Cunha, Pedro. Yeah, I like your team, mate. Aït-Nouri, Pedro Porro is the 2 that I'd be looking to move. Well, Aït-Nouri for the next 2 game weeks. Then I'd be looking to move to like Fulham / Brighton / Nottingham Forest defence for Aït-Nouri. And I'd probably think the same already for Pedro Porro, to be honest. Like, you can save a bit of money in him, and then you can probably upgrade Johnson to like a. I actually think like Diego Jota might come into it soon. When he comes back, he'll probably bed down that number 9 position at Liverpool in a few weeks. So maybe in like 3 weeks' time, like usually, if you can save up a couple of transfers, move Porro out for like a Lewis Hall or a Brighton defender or a Fulham defender or a Nottingham Forest defender, and then upgrade Johnson to like Jota or something like that. Could be interesting. Simon Gunnar, Verbruggen, Porro, Hall, Kirkis, Saka, Salah, Palmer, Matoma, Wissa, Pedro. Whispering João Pedro. And Boomer on the bench. Robinson on the bench. What do I like that team. I like that. Aït-Nouri on the bench, eh? Even though they've got... Is it Ipswich or Leicester? Who have they got this week? Ipswich, right? Yeah, Ipswich. That's a bold call. You say, I know Wolves are crappy, but that's probably the one game week that you'd think that like you might have a chance. Yeah, I'd consider putting him in for Spurs. Yeah, I guess Pedro Porro Southampton as well. Kirkez, I'd probably pick Kirkez over Aït-Nouri. Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, I'd probably do that as well. Mitoma and Boomer. Yeah, I'd probably make all those same decisions. It's a nice team actually. You've got good flexibility going forwards. I like your rotations at the back. I would try and get out of Pedro Porro if I were you, but this game week's obviously good. Yeah, I think you've got a nice flexibility. Yeah, good luck with the Saka captain this game week. I think that's the big call. I'm just very supportive of that. I think I almost wish I had the bottle to go for Saka as captain, because in my heart of hearts, I think that's who I think is going to score more points. But I just think, I don't know, Salah's been in such incredible form, mate. Like, such incredible form. And you just almost forget about it because Saka buys a Saka punt. Yeah, fair. Totally fair. And you can gain a lot of rank from that if it pulls off. Like, that has been a way of gaining rank at the moment, just making the correct captaincy decisions. I think mine's, to be honest, like, I've not even made like correct captain. Is Gabriel healthy? Costa, mate. Basically, the news is he's going to do a late fitness test. He apparently trained with the team, but like he was pictured arriving at training. There was no pictures of him actually in Arsenal training. But that's classic Arteta. Like, it's like cut. It never allows them to be pictured in training. So it's honestly just nobody knows. Nobody knows with Arsenal players. You can never tell. My guess is if he's late fitness tests, probably doesn't start. So Saka got it. Yeah, I actually transferred him out for Timber this week. But like, if you can afford to keep him and like play your other three defenders this week, he'll be back next week, and I think like he's a good pick for the upcoming game week. So I'd try and keep him in the team. But having said that, I'm pretty sure you're playing me. Oh, is our league head-to-head? No, it's not. I'm kidding our league, Costa, mate. Come on, you guys aren't even competition. Arteta's dodgy character. Yeah, so it's actually funny. I can't remember if this bit was in Zinchenko's book that he brought out, but they were talking about how Arteta actually told player to like not come on the team bus to make the opposition not know whether he was going to play or not. He also told the player who wasn't going to play to come with his kit bag and his like wash bag and hold it with him as he walked off the bus, so it looked like he was playing. So yeah, I heard some really funny stories about how he was like really trying to put off the. I think that was in Zinchenko's book, in the Believe book by Zinchenko. That's where I saw it. And then Arteta came out in like an interview a while back and was like, "Look, if they're injured completely, I'm not going to tell you they're fit, but I'm not going to tell you whether they're going to play or not. You need to do your own research, and so did the opposition." And I was like, come on, man, just tell us, man. Him and Lopetegui, I actually want to do a video on who the most annoying Premier League managers are for team news. Arteta and Lopetegui are like the worst in the world. I just hate them. They just never give you any straight answers. I like Hertzler. Hertzler's good. He gives it to you. That was a bit weird this week when he gave percentages. I thought that was quite funny. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Eddie Howe's a bit up in the air as well. Pep's actually not that bad. Like Pep, like generally tells you if you press him. Gabriel will probably play today. Yeah, mate. I just really don't know. I really don't know. I think honestly it's 50-50. If you can't afford to take the gamble, sub him out. But I would try to keep him. If you can keep him, I would really try to keep him, because there's obviously a high chance he can play, and he's also a good pick for future weeks. So, yeah, it's nice to have all the OG guys in the chat at the same time. Ipswich fan. Am I an Ipswich fan? No, I'm not an Ipswich fan. I just yeah, my fan league's Ipswich. No, pretty much every year I always choose the fan league for the team that I think I've finished highest in, and I just figured Ipswich would have the least amount of fans. So I don't know where I'm seeing 2,476 in the Ipswich league. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of almost hope Gabriel doesn't play today, because then it makes my transfer feel better. Makes my transfer feel more valid that I subbed him out for Timber. I subbed Watkins for Isa. I would have liked to keep that extra transfer, to be honest. I'm dodgy like Arteta. Yeah, I am, but no, I'm not dodgy. I'm very straight up, mate. Very straight up. Oh dear. Yeah, caught out there massively. Maybe I have to set that to my real team I support. I'm not that dodgy. I wouldn't straight out lie to you like Arteta does. He's just unreal. He's starting to annoy me recently, actually, Arteta. Should I get myself back on the screen? Where have I gone? PL Watford. There we go. Back on. Why are we avoiding Trent? I already bought him. Sell him now, mate. Shall I go through it again? This is like 4th time on the stream. Alright, I got 13 minutes. We're finishing the stream then. Alright, Trent. Let me talk you through it. So, multiple. If you've already bought him, it's done. Don't worry about it. Like, he's not the most horrendous pick in the world, but there are a lot of reasons why you shouldn't pick him. One, at 7 million at the moment, the way the game is, and the structure of our teams, that money is much better spent in midfield and up front. And a reason, like, there was a really good video on bonus points and why like midfielders and forwards are actually like scoring more bonus points than defenders this season. I can't remember who posted it on YouTube, but it's a great video. If you type in bonus points on YouTube, I'm sure you find it. So for one, like the midfielders and the forwards are obviously scoring more points. They have a lot more upside this season. The defenders have not been like the clean sheet wise. It's not been very consistent in any teams. I know Liverpool have been the best at it. Two, Trent, and I'm going to put these stats up on the screen because this is like one of the things I'm talking about why you can't always rely on statistics. Trent, although he is top of XG and XA, let me explain to you why he's top. He's 0.6, but a lot of that was from early season when he created a bunch of huge XG chances for like Diego Jota, maybe for Luis Diaz as well. I remember Jota literally missing from like 1 yard, and like those chances were like 0.8, 0.9 XG, like he had to score almost, and that massively inflated his like XG at the beginning. He's also was on corners. Up until the last couple of weeks, and so every time you're taking a corner, you're actually getting a little bit of expected assists. And for defenders, that's a really big thing because there's not a lot of defenders that take corners. Recently, Alexis McAllister has started taking corners for Trent. Obviously, he's not playing this game week, so I mean that is a slight bonus for Trent in this particular game week. But that is another reason why his expected assists are so much inflated. And a third reason is tactically, the way that they're set up under Slot. Trent plays a completely different position to how he used to play under Klopp. Slot has the fullbacks defending properly, defending deeper, and you notice that Liverpool don't get caught out in transition as much. Like Liverpool last year, frequently would have like a fullbacks marauding up and getting caught out in transition frequently on the counter attack. But Trent is just not picking up those positions this year and not getting into those attacking positions. Finally, you can see he's got on here 3 assists, right? It would have been 1, except for last week where he got those 2 assists. And the only reason he got those 2 assists is because Liverpool were behind in the game and he got brought on for 20 minutes to push forwards and get into those high positions. That is not going to happen frequently for Liverpool. Liverpool are not going to be in the position, most likely, that they're going to be behind chasing a game in the last 20 minutes many times this season. They're most likely going to be ahead or level, and in both those positions, Slot is not somebody who's going to be taking a risk by bombing their fullbacks on really high. They're going to sit, they're going to be in position, they're going to rely on their attack to break down the teams. So, for all of those reasons, is why Trent is not actually as good a pick as his stats suggest. And also, just from like structure of team terms, like that 7 mil for me can be much spent better off elsewhere. If you're going to choose a Liverpool defender, like Van Dijk's almost got as much attacking potential as Trent, in my opinion, like to score off corners. So for me, I would rather go for a Van Dijk, or to be honest, what I would do is I'd wait till Konate comes back. I'm actually not sure how long he's out for, but if it's only for a couple of weeks, I'd wait till Konate comes back and bring him in. Otherwise, bring in Joe Gomez. How am I feeling about it? Do I like new mystery chip? Yeah, I think it's great. Bunch of strategy. I put out a really good video on chip strategy where I talked through, and only because you guys are all my favourite guys on stream at the moment, I'll chuck it up on stream. But watch the video, it's just so good. I put a lot of time into this one. I talk about like all the blank, the double game weeks, and then what the best weeks are for all of the chips. So for the wildcard, the bench boost, the assistant manager chip, all of this stuff. Like I've talked through all of this in a lot of detail, like which weeks all of the doubles and the blanks are going to be in. So give the video, check it out, give it a like, get it up in the rankings. I think I actually got quite a lot of views on that video. And yeah, talk through everything. I think it's a great chip. Honestly, like it's going to take a lot of thought for people, and you can play it in a lot of different ways. But I don't think there's going to be like huge swings. For example, like, I think you can choose whether you want to play it safe or whether you want to play it risky, and that's your choice, right? If you go for like huge risk and it pays off, you might get like 20 points for one game week. If you go for like little, like medium, maybe you'll get like 8 to 10 points, or you end up with 0. So like for me, like that's not a massive swing. Like 10 points is like, I think, a fair swing for your choice of strategy and whether you're willing to sort of risk 0 for 20 or go in the middle for around 8 to 10. And I roughly think that the point scoring is relatively fair. What happens if a manager gets a sack or a red card? Doesn't affect it. The points will still count for the team's performance. It's not about the manager. How are we feeling about Souček? Ooh, Souček. You should know better than me, Chaz. You're a West Ham fan. How are you feeling about Souček? I like him. He doesn't make it onto the top 35 or whatever in stats, but at that sort of price point, like if he's going to be playing consistently for West Ham, then like he's pretty nice. Like he pops up with some goals every now and again. He's a bit of a budget enabler at 4.9 mil. I think he scored like 4 goals this year. Do you think he's going to be playing every week? I think he's played like the last 5 game weeks, so 9 goals this season, mad. Yeah, 4 in the league, yeah, I just checked it. Yeah, guys, 6 minutes to the deadline, by the way, so it's 6 minutes to the deadline, right? Yeah, 6 minutes to the deadline, so finalise your teams, get all your transfers in. Should I captain Saka, Lewis, Chitham, Batembe? Mate, last minute decision. I chased Salah this week. I probably don't have the time to go into the detail behind it. I would say it's a very close call between Salah and Saka for me. I would say Saka's going to gain you more rank if you go for him as maybe slightly more of a risky option. But I mean, both are nice shouts. Yeah, Tiger and Gooner's gone for Saka, so you can both be supporting him together. I'm still going to be supporting Saka because I reckon even if he gets points, it'll be beneficial to my rank rather than making it go down. Yeah, that chip as well. I can probably just like quickly go through I put out like a couple of videos on it. I did one that was like all the stuff you need to know. Maybe I'll just show you guys that in like the next 2 minutes. It's pretty easy to run through. Just gotta fix my sizing. Bang, let's go. Yeah, so here is thanks, fingers crossed. Yeah, good luck, Lewis, mate. Let's go, Saka and Salah. If they can score the same amount of points, like 20 each, that'd be great. Support that. Yeah, so assistant manager chip, only playable from game week 24, so you don't need to worry about it for a few weeks, but I would start saving some free transfers. You have to buy the manager, so it costs 0.5 to 1.5 million, but I would definitely make sure that you have that money because it's definitely worth it for the amount of points they could score. Like paying an extra 1.5 million for a player, it's pretty good. The chip will be active for 3 weeks and you'll score points, so if you pick like slot, you'll score points based off how Liverpool will perform. You can't use any of the other chips like wildcard, bench boost, triple captain over those 3 weeks. And like when you make the selection of who the manager is going to be, so when you pick slot in week 1 or pick Unai Emery or whoever you're going to pick, it doesn't cost a transfer, but then you can actually change each week. So you can pick like slot for Liverpool the first week, then change to like Guardiola the second week, and change to Arteta the third week. No one's changing to Arteta. Can't be getting him in the team. Yeah, can't cancel the chip once you've activated it, and then this is how you score points. So the points work as hopefully this is quite a straightforward example. Points work as if your team wins, so if Liverpool win you get 6 points, if they draw you get 3, and you get +2 if they keep a clean sheet, and +1 for every goal they score. So for example, if Liverpool to win 2-0, they get 6 points for the win, 2 points for the clean sheet, and 2 points for the 2 goals. They get 10 points. You get 10 points for having slot as your manager for that week. And then there's like bonus points, and the bonus points are to encourage you to go a bit more risky and go for some of the lower ranked teams. So if your team is ranked, if you're playing against a team ranked 5 or more above you, can you transfer a manager each week? Yeah, you can. So you can make manager transfers, but they cost a free transfer. They don't cost you. It doesn't cost you a transfer in the first week. You get the manager, but each week, if you want to change teams, which I recommend, by the way, I recommend you actually use your free transfers to transfer managers because you can score a lot of points, like with selecting the right fixture each week, or you just pick like a really nice fixture run. But I would suggest like trying to really target the fixtures where you're sure you're going to get the points. Like using one free transfer for 10 points is like so worth it, right? So yeah, and then you can get bonus points if, say, for example, the manager you've selected is like Unai Emery. He's Aston Villa. Aston Villa are 6th. If you're playing a team 5 places or more higher, so if you're playing a team in first place, or like 20th versus 15th or higher, then you get 10 bonus points if your team wins and 5 bonus points for a draw. So on the right here, I've got an example. So say Villa in 6th place play Liverpool in 1st place. So that's Liverpool are 5 or more places higher than Villa at the start of the game week. So the bonus points, like Brentford and Arsenal have good run towards the end of the season. Yeah, actually, I think that's in my chip strategy. Like I think that's exactly the weeks that I was looking at doing it around there. So yeah, I won't give it away. Watch the video. Make you watch it all the way through. Yeah, so for example, if Villa play Liverpool and Villa win 2-0, Villa will get 6 points for the win, like the original 6 points, they'll also get the 10 bonus points of beating a team that's 5 or more places higher. They'll still get the 2 clean sheet points and just get the 2 bonus points. So you can get 20 points for that game week. Yeah, so that's what I was saying. Like, really, like, say, like Liverpool 2-0 win would be like about 10 points, whereas like Villa 2-0 win is obviously 20 points. So the range is sort of like almost 0 to about 20 points. So I think it's quite good because if you play it safe, you're likely to get around like 8 to 10. If you play it risky, you're probably more likely to get around like, I don't know, maybe 10 to 20 if you get it right. And then you could also like play it risky, get it wrong, and end up with like 1 point. So I think it's a good spacing where risk versus reward. Guys, deadline. Sorry, wasn't paying attention. I was chatting away. It's gone. Hope you put in all your stuff. Yeah, sorry. Wow, we made it 3 right to the deadline, man. This has been long. I streamed for like 3.5 hours today, and I'm sick as well. So, my wisdom tooth is like got infected. I need to pull it out. Cheers, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Good luck this week. Hope everything goes well for you guys. Let me just click and make sure that, oh man, I really did go for Salah as captain. Can't believe it. Hopefully he does the job. I'm going to go for a quick nap and maybe wake up for the start of the first game. Hope everyone has a great game week. Good luck, Salah, Saka. Hopefully Palmer blanks. I should just transfer him out. I'm not supporting him at this point. It doesn't help me if he scores points. Yeah. Alright guys, have a great week. Thanks for tuning in for the stream. Give it a like. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Yeah, have a great week. Good luck, and I'll catch you during the week for some more great content. See you guys.